At the beginning, there are 5 talents to choose from. How would you choose? Talent 1, trash can. Activate this talent to eat and digest anything. Talent 2, urinate against the wind for 10 meters. Allows you to use the restroom 10 meters away. Talent 3, energetic young man. You have an extraordinary talent. Your mental strength is especially strong. Talent 4, soft rice king. All women who meet you have an initial favorability rating of +50. Even men with special preferences are no exception. Talent 5, life is a game. You can see everyone's weaknesses at a glance. Ancient gods descend upon this world. The chosen ones are forced to participate in the game. If you don't obey, you will be erased. A strong man doesn't believe in these ghost stories. As a result, his resistance fails, and he is killed by a rebounding chair. Lin Hao, also a victim, remains extremely calm because he drew all 5 talents at once, although they are very strange. But this is the key to Lin Hao's victory. When the talents turned into golden light and entered Lin Hao's body, suddenly Lin Hao's head buzzed. When Lin Hao came to his senses, Lin Hao saw an attribute column appear on everyone. Their attribute values and weaknesses were clearly recorded on the status screen. Looking at his own attributes, it's simply amazing. Currently, Lin Hao has seen more than a dozen people, and none of them have any talents. It shows how perverted Lin Hao is. Suddenly, a girl caught Lin Hao's attention. From her muscular chest, Lin Hao judged her to be a martial artist. The girl also noticed Lin Hao. Her originally indifferent expression, under the influence of Lin Hao's soft rice king talent, changed from neutral to friendly. She even wanted to team up with Lin Hao. Ignoring the bodyguard's obstruction, she insisted on taking Lin Hao with her. At this moment, the ancient god descended again. Lin Hao was completely dumbfounded. The bodyguard saw Lin Hao staring blankly at the ancient god. He thought Lin Hao was indeed a burden. Little did he know, Lin Hao wasn't scared stiff, but amazed. Life as a game is so powerful that it can see the ancient god's attributes. What surprised Lin Hao even more was that the ancient god was female, because next to her name was not neutral, but friendly. All women have a good impression of Lin Hao. Ancient god Agatha descended once again. She initiated a trial dungeon. She wanted humans to go through a baptism of blood and fire, so they could become her warriors. However, due to her fondness and pity for Lin Hao, she adjusted the rules of the dungeon. Death inside wouldn't be real, but all kinds of sensory feedback would be genuine, so it was possible to die from pain. Finally, she didn't forget to add, "I'm looking forward to some people's performance." When Lin Hao woke up, he was already in the first level of the spider dungeon. The smallest spiders here were as big as a human face. One uncle was the strongest among this group of people. He encouraged everyone. As the top predators, humans have spent billions of years evolving to the top of the food chain. Are we afraid of a few little bugs? As long as we utilize our most potent weapon, intelligence and unity, even if there are hundreds of spiders, so what? Unfortunately, this uncle was male, so Lin Hao's soft rice king skill couldn't take effect. At that moment, a stone tablet rose from the ground. The content on it introduced the mother spider's nest. During the breeding period, the attack power of the spider queen often becomes extremely strong. Please be careful. Note, this dungeon has been specially modified. The monsters have limited intelligence, and they will stop chasing once you leave the alert area. However, the real world is not like this. After reading it, Lin Hao quickly pondered, spiders. The humidity in this cave is indeed quite suitable for insects to survive, and I suspect there might be even bigger and fiercer creatures waiting deeper inside. Theoretically, the best solution here is to enter in small squads, which allows mutual support without making too much noise. However, I look too young, and my appearance doesn't have any persuasive power. They probably won't listen to me. I'd better wait and see how things go. If that ancient god wasn't lying, it wouldn't be bad to be aggressive since we won't actually die. The ancient god noticed that they hadn't made a move yet, so she reminded them if they stayed here for more than a minute, the spider queen would launch an attack on her own. Left with no choice, Lin Hao had to muster the courage to lead the group into the nest. In order to save his life, Lin Hao secretly stayed at the back. The uncle had already planned, as soon as the spider queen attacked, he would immediately betray Lin Hao. Along the way, Lin Hao was walking while touching and observing everything around him. The girl in front of Lin Hao was shivering as she walked. Suddenly, an afterimage appeared. A foot struck the girl's neck, killing her instantly. This sudden scene made us feel chills down our spines. The uncle immediately declared that they should split up and retreat. Lin Hao immediately saw that the uncle was giving blind commands. Splitting up now was undoubtedly equivalent to sending them to their deaths. He quickly tried to stop them, but no one listened. As a result, with this delay, Lin Hao was left all alone. A spider the size of a calf found Lin Hao. Lin Hao knew the situation was dire. Just as Lin Hao prepared to pick up a stone for a desperate fight, Lin Hao's soft rice king skill activated. The juvenile spider queen in front of him looked at Lin Hao affectionately, rubbing her face against Lin Hao's thigh. Lin Hao wanted to take this opportunity to smash the spider with a stone, but in the end, he couldn't bring himself to do it. He felt compassion for the spider. Looking at its flickering little eyes, Lin Hao really couldn't bring himself to do it. Fortunately, Lin Hao didn't make a move, or the consequences would have been severe. With the soft rice king skill, Lin Hao was no longer worried about the little spider and began to study its attributes carefully. Through scientific testing, Lin Hao gained an intuitive understanding of the attribute values. The little one's attribute values were similar to those of Lin Xiaoyan's bodyguard, and its attribute attributes were twice that of Lin Hao. Its strength and agility were indeed 3 times greater than Lin Hao's. If Lin Hao had tried to ambush her at that time, he probably would have been killed instead. However, even with such attributes, it still wasn't enough to kill others instantly. Lin Hao guessed that the element of surprise and killing intent played a significant role, which was precisely the ancient god's intention. Only after going through a baptism of blood could one become a true warrior. At this moment, Lin Hao's highest attribute was his mental attribute, which was influenced by the psychic youth talent. However, Lin Hao didn't know how to use it. He had tried mental attacks, but they had no effect. With the company of the little spider, Lin Hao decided to explore the instance further, hoping to gain some experience along the way. However, he found corpses everywhere and not a single survivor. Lin Hao didn't notice that another little spider had joined them from behind. As Lin Hao delved deeper, he found some spider remains on the way. He guessed that the remaining experts had done this. Sure enough, not far away, he saw a person who had died but managed to take down 2 spiders with him. Lin Hao couldn't help but admire the person's courage. At this moment, a rustling sound came from behind. Lin Hao turned around and broke out in a cold sweat. Hundreds of little spiders were following Lin Hao, pushing him towards the Spider Queen's lair. Upon arriving at the nest, Lin Hao saw a girl. Lin Hao couldn't help but blurt out, "Wow, so big. What a huge treasure chest." She was naturally beautiful, with a protruding front and a raised rear, a slim figure, and attributes that were 4 to 5 times as many as Lin Hao's. Lin Hao stared, dumbfounded. Before Lin Hao could recover, he was offered to the mother by the little spiders. Scared, Lin Hao shivered, thinking, "I treat you like little sisters, but you want me to be your dad?" It is said that female spiders will eat the male spiders to nourish their unborn babies. Just thinking about it is frightening. At this moment, the spider girl slowly approached Lin Hao. Lin Hao's mind raced once again, deploying 300 flirting techniques, but what he got in return was a forceful situation. Lin Hao never thought he would see this day. His chastity, guarded for over 20 years, was about to be taken by a female spider. Just as Lin Hao resigned himself to his fate, who would have thought? The other party just wanted to use her spider silk to make a set of clothes for Lin Hao. For this, her desire was satisfied, and her affection for Lin Hao would never decrease again. She also wanted to give the well-guarded treasure chest to Lin Hao. Lin Hao couldn't wait to receive the reward, but an accident happened. The ancient god's voice resounded in Lin Hao's head. "I didn't expect someone to actually pass the level without killing a single monster and obtain the reward." Lin Hao received the unattainable final reward. Lin Hao impatiently opened the treasure chest, and a sudden burst of golden light blinded Lin Hao's eyes. When the golden light dissipated, it turned out to be a book. As soon as Lin Hao touched it, countless knowledge flooded into Lin Hao's brain. It turned out to be a job change tool book. At this moment, Lin Hao officially became a monster contract master. As the name implies, he could form contracts with monsters and make them serve him. The contract ceremony was not complicated, but his own mental strength had to be higher than the opponent's, and the opponent should not resist in order to succeed. However, what Lin Hao regretted was that the job change tool book only provided a simple introduction to the professional abilities, and not a single word was mentioned about the professional background. The method of forming a monster contract was not difficult, but the challenge lay in the mental strength value. The higher the mental strength, the more advanced monsters one could contract, and the more monsters one could sign. So, should Lin Hao change his job? Lin Hao decisively chose yes. For those little spider monsters, Lin Hao only needed a single thought to form a contract with them. However, what Lin Hao did not expect was that the difficulty of forming a contract with the leader was also simple. Her mental strength was as high as 6, only 2 points less than Lin Hao. Logically, the difficulty for Lin Hao to contract her should be much more challenging than contracting those ordinary spiders with only 2 points of mental strength. It was Lin Hao's soft rice king and spirited youth talents that played a role. After pleading with the ancient god, Lin Hao obtained the permission to take the monsters from this place out of the instance. Lin Hao eagerly initiated the contract ceremony with the girl. After signing the contract, she merged into Lin Hao's shadow. At this moment, Lin Hao could feel her emotions: happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. As long as Lin Hao had a thought, she would appear and fight valiantly for Lin Hao. With the disappearance of the instance leader, the instance also closed. Everyone was teleported back, and at this moment, each person obtained a system set. Just by silently reciting Ancient God Agatha, one can open their personal exclusive system panel. The number of monsters killed in previous trials is also rewarded in the form of points to everyone. What Lin Hao didn't expect was that after he subdued the boss, his points were only 0, ranking more than 3,000. On the other hand, Mission had 40 points, ranking 1214. What surprised Lin Hao the most was Yun'er's bodyguard, who was actually ranked 10, although their attributes were only slightly higher than Lin Xiaoyun. The gap between them was so huge. Moreover, Lin Xiaoyun seemed to be hesitating to speak, and Lin Hao guessed that the bodyguard must have some ideas. This time, Lin Xiaoyun came to Lin Hao just to bring him along. The bodyguard Wei had recruited many subordinates in the trial instance this time, and she swore to protect Lin Hao's safety, little knowing that she could barely protect herself. Lin Hao saw that Lin Xiaoyun had a kind heart and couldn't bear to see her get hurt, so he decided to go with her. As expected, as soon as Lin Xiaoyun appeared, Wei the bodyguard revealed her true intentions. She was no longer willing to be Lin Xiaoyun's bodyguard. The well-dressed guy who used used to be a lawyer and an upper-class person in the instance ended up begging by his side like a dog. In this world, only strength is the most reliable thing. Lin Xiaoyun immediately criticized Wei the bodyguard. I noticed something was off about you in the instance. To earn more points for yourself, you drove the old, weak, women and children to lure spiders so that you could personally kill more spiders. At that time, you said it was to perform better, but I didn't agree and I could only reluctantly accept your approach. But what do you want to do now? Wei the bodyguard replied, of course, it is to use my strength to gain more. A few of them have already pledged their loyalty to follow me. Lin Xiaoyun, be my woman. In the future, we will become the most capable subordinates under the ancient god. With the power demonstrated by the ancient god, we will definitely be able to obtain benefits that were unimaginable before. Lin Xiaoyun cried, brother Wei, I really didn't expect you to suddenly become like this. Do men reveal their true nature once they are no longer bound by rules? We all grew up in a civilized society. Can we really accept the barbaric rule of the survival of the fittest so quickly after just a few hours? Lin Hao held Lin Xiaoyun's hand and said, Sister Lin, it's actually just these few people who are bad. At least I won't become like this. Lin Hao thought to himself, this Wei Kai has indeed become arrogant. I don't know if he had hidden his true intentions well before, or if Lin Xiaoyun was just too trusting of others. Wei the bodyguard then turned his attention to Lin Hao and saw that his points were 0. He said to Lin Hao, loser, you can only rely on pleasing women to get by in society. Civilized society still allows such insignificant creatures like you to have a chance to survive, but not in this world where the strong prey on the weak. Lin Xiaoyun couldn't stand it anymore and began to scold Wei the bodyguard. She wanted to pull Lin Hao away and leave. However, Wei Kai had been coveting Lin Xiaoyun's beauty for years and wouldn't let this opportunity slip away. Although the ancient god had rules forbidding warriors from killing each other, there was no rule against doing indecent things. Moreover, his ranking was 10th, so the ancient god would naturally favor him. Thinking about this, he didn't hesitate to give Lin Hao a powerful kick. Lin Xiaoyun could have escaped, but she couldn't bear to see Lin Hao being tormented, so she stayed. Wei Kai ordered his subordinates to kill Lin Hao. Lin Hao pretended to beg for mercy, trying to give them a chance to redeem themselves, but they didn't appreciate it. At this moment, Lin Hao stopped pretending, forming a summoning gesture with one hand. Instantly, Lin Hao emitted a terrifying aura, and the spider lady, holding a scythe of death, appeared behind him. Everyone present was stunned, some even wetting themselves in fear. They recognized the spider as the one from the instance, and it was even larger than the ones they had seen. They didn't hesitate to turn and run, but Lin Hao had no intention of letting them go. At Lin Hao's command, the spider lady gently swung her scythe, turning the 3 subordinates into ashes. Strangely, the ancient god didn't bring down divine punishment. Wei Kai couldn't understand why the spider monster from the instance would help Lin Hao kill people. Its power was clearly beyond that of a small spider, and he was definitely no match for it. Realizing this, he immediately knelt down and begged for mercy, his demeanor turning obsequious. He asked Lin Hao to let him go as if he were nothing, and then tried to play the sympathy card with Lin Xiaoyun. But Lin Xiaoyun only felt disgusted by him. She mustered all her strength to beat him up brutally. Then she asked Lin Hao how to deal with him. Lin Hao knew that keeping such a despicable person around would pose a hidden danger. Lin Hao definitely won't let him go. The attribute panel clearly stated his harbored resentment. At this moment, Lin Hao finally understood the power of the skill game life. It can actually see through people's hearts. In order to appear weak in front of Lin Xiaoyun, Lin Hao pretended to let him go, but in secret, he had Miss Spider eliminate him. Wei Kai actually thought Lin Hao was really going to let him go. He had already started planning how to retaliate against Lin Hao. Unfortunately, before the plan was even drafted, the Grim Reaper had already raised its scythe. At the brink of death, an ancient god appeared and stopped Lin Hao. Wei Kai escaped death and happily shouted, long live the ancient god. I am your most loyal servant. Although the ancient god intervened to test the extent of Soft Rice King's enchantment with the ancient god, Miss Spider's scythe fell once again. Seeing this, the ancient god sternly reiterated the rules. Miss Spider was immediately immobilized. Lin Hao realized this was the ancient god's bottom line. Wei Kai was scared out of his wits. Wei Kai also confirmed the ancient god's attitude. Knowing that Lin Hao had no way to deal with him, he boldly asked the ancient god to punish Lin Hao, excitedly anticipating how Lin Hao would die. However, Lin Hao just told the ancient god that he didn't understand the rules, pointing out that Wei Kai harbored murderous intentions towards Lin Hao. As a result, the ancient god simply let Lin Hao go. Wei Kai couldn't help but suspect that Lin Hao was cheating. He had lost 3 of his own men, yet Lin Hao seemed to have nothing happen to him. He suspected Lin Hao might have something going on with the ancient god. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He arrogantly accused the ancient god of being unfair. As expected, the ancient god gave him a round of electrotherapy. A tingling pleasure instantly swept through his body. Wei Kai collapsed on the ground, unable to get up. As for Lin Hao, although he had escaped the punishment of death, he couldn't escape the living punishment. The ancient god forcibly sent Lin Hao to an official mission instance. In this instance, death would be permanent and no resurrection would be possible, meaning the true battle was about to begin. In this alternate space, there was no money, only points. Points could be exchanged for equipment, skills, and potions. It would greatly increase the participants' survival rate. Unfortunately, Lin Hao had 0 points. This instance instance was different from the trial instances. Death in the instance would not result in resurrection. As the 3-hour preparation time given by the ancient god was about to end, Lin Hao suddenly thought that Wei Kai might be able to help him. As soon as Wei Kai saw Lin Hao, he didn't even think before getting up to run, but he was stopped by Miss Spider. Relying on the ancient god's rules, Wei Kai still taught tough. Lin Hao ordered Miss Spider to tie him to the wall, but when Lin Hao mentioned that the Spider Mother could turn people into puppets, he immediately backed down. He offered to use some of his points to resolve their feud. Lin Hao bluntly demanded all of his points, but Wei Kai said that taking all his points would be worse than killing him, so Lin Hao compromised and only took 80 points from him. The marketplace was divided into 4 areas: items, equipment, books, and potions. The goods sold were all of white common quality and blue excellent quality. As for higher quality items, they could only be obtained through other means. The 3-hour preparation time was more than enough, and the ancient god provided unlimited item exchanges. Was there a need for such competition? Furthermore, they didn't even know what they would encounter in this exploration. What if they spent their points on useless items? Lin Hao spent 40 points on a children's watch. This watch was no ordinary item. Very few people knew about it. The watch was a temporary shopping assistant for the marketplace, and it could recommend products based on the conditions Lin Hao provided. After purchase, the goods could be retrieved regardless of distance. Although it was temporary and could only be used for 5 exchanges, it should be enough for 1 exploration. This not only saved shopping time, but also allowed for targeted purchases at critical moments. Having acquired the necessary items, the next step was to buy skill books to increase his strength. Unexpectedly, the job change items available were only for warriors, mages, and priests. Although each book was of white quality, they were worth 200 points. This showed how precious monster contract masters were. However, any role had both professional skills and general skills. Professional skills could be activated with skill points, but general skills could only be purchased in the store. With Lin Hao's current wealth, he could only buy white quality general skills. At this point, the best cost-effective choice was the exercise technique. According to the description, once the exercise technique was equipped, it couldn't be removed, and 2 different qualities of the same attribute exercise technique couldn't be equipped simultaneously. Once equipped, the body would automatically start exercising, slowly increasing the selected attribute. Of course, one could also actively exercise to increase the attribute growth speed. The white common quality level 0 exercise technique could increase an attribute by up to 3 points, while the blue excellent quality one could increase it by up to 4 points. Lin Hao decided to focus on increasing his mental strength in the future, because Lin Hao's ability was to control monsters with weaker mental strength than his own, and Lin Hao's soft rice king talent was to charm females stronger than himself. In this way, Lin Hao could have the best of both worlds. Lin Hao first spent 20 points to exchange for a level 0 white quality mental exercise technique. As Lin Hao learned the mental exercise technique, many strange cultivation postures appeared in his mind. He felt his mental strength slowly increasing. Suddenly, a stranger's voice interrupted Lin Hao. It was a bespectacled man who wanted to invite Lin Hao to join his team. Lin Hao wanted to decline the invitation. Suddenly, a shout came from behind the man with glasses. "Let go of that boy. Shin-Chi, can't you see he doesn't want to join your team?" Immediately after, the man with glasses left gracefully. At this moment, Lin Hao's thoughts were, according to the leveling path I've set, my real body is very weak, and the random talents I've acquired are like a player's SSR. I can't expose myself casually. If my teammates are not reliable, then it's over. Lin Hao thanked the man who had just helped him. When he checked the panel, he found out that he was Liu Keki, ranked 5th in points. All his attribute values were greater than 5. Liu Keki explained the reason Shin-Chi came to find Lin Hao earlier was because Shin-Chi was genuinely looking for teammates. "Lin Hao, your temporary mobile mall assistant is the best value for money. Compared to those who haven't exchanged anything or exchanged items randomly, you, a young man, definitely have more potential." He sincerely invited Lin Hao to join his team, Lu Wang. This made Lin Hao very conflicted. Should he hold on to such a strong thigh or not? But why would such an amazing person be interested in Lin Hao? After all, Lin Hao looked like a newbie. He promised that as long as Lin Hao joined the team, he would let Lin Hao be an officer. Seeing that he was kind, Lin Hao was indeed tempted. However, the game of life reminded Lin Hao to be careful. He had a feeling of same-sex repulsion towards Lin Hao, so Lin Hao tactfully declined his kindness. Just after Lin Hao had left, Wei Kai emerged from the shadows. He didn't want Lin Hao to join the Lu Wang team. Lin Hao's strength would undoubtedly challenge his position. He had just badmouthed Lin Hao to the team captain, and Liu Keki quickly noticed the conflict between them. But he was a very scheming person and good at controlling people's hearts. To appease Wei Kai, he even offered 2 blue equipment pieces. Indeed, Wei Kai felt recognized and discovered the benefits of teamwork, which greatly increased his loyalty. Immediately, Wei Kai's face turned cold. Indeed, as long as you can become the focus of the team's resources, your speed of growth will be much faster than being a lone wolf. Lin Hao is just arrogant because of the spider monster. Once I accumulate enough points to exchange for those amazing items and bypass the spider monster to attack him personally, a gentleman's revenge is not too late even after 10 years. Ever since I awakened my soft rice king talent, not only did the spiders bow bow down to me under my pomegranate skirt. Even their boss, Spider Sister, was conquered by me. With Spider Sister as my backing, those who used to be arrogant in front of me now only end up scared out of their wits. But since I've been calling Spider Sister for so long, I should give her a name. Since you seem to like chirping so much, I'll call you Little Chirp. At that moment, Lin Xiaoyan suddenly appeared, handing me a talisman. I saw that it was a blue talisman of excellent quality, able to withstand one fatal blow, and this item requires 40 points to obtain, and this woman only has a total of 40 points. Is she stupid? She actually used all her points to thank me. I didn't expect there would be such a naive person in this world. Looks like I should help her out in the future, so she owes me a favor or two. Now it's time to set off. At the beginning, everyone rushed forward desperately, trying to grab exploration points. The triangular markers on the map indicate the players' locations, the circular markers are the bases, the blue areas are already explored, and the dark areas are unexplored. Everyone is fiercely competing for exploration points, but when there was no one around for miles, I directly summoned Big Sis Little Chirp. Big Sis Little Chirp's speed, obtaining exploration points was like taking candy from a baby. Big Sis Little Chirp and I cleared a path on the map. Others thought it was a system bug, but they didn't expect Big Sis Little Chirp to carry me and run 5 kilometers just to earn 1 point of exploration points, and we didn't even encounter any monsters nearby. If you calculate it like this, the scale of this map is simply outrageous. I feel like this mission will last a long time, and I'll have to consider the issue of surviving in the wilderness. These goblins are trying to reproduce more goblins. A fully grown female pig weighing 200 kilograms was arrested. Initially, I was just watching from the tree and didn't want to intervene. Moreover, their attributes were very low and they had little experience. But suddenly I received a mission to ambush the goblins. I can't refuse the free points given for that. I asked Little Chirp to launch a surprise attack when the goblins were eating and drinking without any guard. In front of Little Chirp, these goblins were like leeks, waiting to be harvested. The goblins had no choice but to flee. At this moment, one goblin secretly blew a distress signal horn. In a moment, the goblin army arrived. The goblins that came this time were different from the ones before. They were all fully armed. The forest goblins were overpowered, hostile. Even if Little Chirp was very powerful, she couldn't withstand the large number of goblins. This won't work if it continues like this. I need to find a way to leave with Little Chirp first. Just as a new wave of goblins arrived, and these goblins were good at tracking, it seems difficult to escape easily. I quickly opened the shopping assistant to see if there were any items that could help me safely evacuate. The first item is a smoke pot, which emits a large fog with a radius of 100 meters for 60 seconds. However, this feels more suitable for offensive purposes. The next item is a teleportation scroll that can instantly teleport to the farthest safe zone, 1,000 meters away, but it requires 10 seconds of preparation time. This looks quite suitable, and it only costs 2 points. I directly purchased the teleportation scroll, although it takes 10 seconds to activate, but the advantage lies in being cheap. Little Chirp, you have to hold on for 10 seconds. Countdown is over. In the blink of an eye, I teleported to the safe zone. After using the teleportation item, we were randomly teleported away. Little Chirp was a bit disappointed with this failure, but I have already figured out how to get revenge. I opened the map to check our current location. Unexpectedly, we just encountered the goblin's location. Clearly, it was supposed to be an explored area, but it suddenly turned dark. Indeed, the rules of the ancient god are not that simple. We have found the nearby goblin camp. Get ready to sneak attack their hideout while those guarding goblins are out for support. Coincidentally, we triggered a mission to destroy the goblin frontline stronghold. Now we've made some gains. I used some points to exchange for 10 incendiary bullets. I sent Little Chirp to conduct guerrilla warfare using her speed. Little Chirp took the incendiary bullets and effortlessly burned the camp to the ground. After a night of effort, we have earned 68 points. At this rate, we can buy upgrade potions in 2 more days. But now we've thoroughly angered them. We'll wait until we have better equipment before we strike back. Suddenly, Little Chirp noticed some movement nearby. It turned out to be Wei Kai. Looks like he joined a team with someone else, and his attributes have improved significantly after strengthening his equipment, almost like leveling up. At this moment, a goblin attacked them. Wei Kai easily defeated the goblin with one swing of his sword, even faster than Little Chirp. But then Little Chirp's panel showed a jealous state, where she can deliver a one-hit kill to anyone with lower attributes. And Wei Kai is quite vengeful. If he has a chance, he will definitely retaliate against us crazily. In that case, we can't let this guy go. Never provoke any maternal creatures, or you might not even know how you died. Originally, I just said that Wei Kai's sword speed might be faster than Little Chirp's. But after hearing this, Little Chirp got jealous and charged up without saying a word. Before Wei Kai could react, Little Chirp beheaded him with a snap. Liu Keki saw this and quickly warned everyone to be on guard, but Little Chirp's momentum made everyone tremble with fear and unable to resist. Liu Keki also knows that Wei Kai's equipment bonus is so high, but it was easily defeated by Little Chirp's attack. Therefore, it is certain that Liu Keki is not a formidable opponent either, but Little Chirp didn't intend to attack again. After dealing with Wei Kai, she immediately left. Liu Keki saw the situation and immediately pretended to shout at the monster. "If you kill my teammate, we will be enemies forever." The teammate thought that Liu Keki scared the monster away and got excited immediately. But in reality, Liu Keki was almost scared to collapse on the ground. On the third day, a couple in the forest was being chased by goblins. Unexpectedly, the man being chased by goblins turned on his own wife to save himself. He shot his wife in the leg and handed her over to the goblins alive. But he couldn't escape in the end. As the days passed, fewer and fewer people were on the adventure leaderboard. With the passage of time, the areas that had been explored were occupied by goblins again and became darker. If this continues for a long time, food will become a problem. At this moment, Little Chirp suddenly picked up a goblin. The panel prompted that although goblin meat is delicious and nutritious, it will cause great terror after consumption. What kind of terror is that? The system is still playing dumb with me. Seeing that Little Chirp was about to eat it, I quickly stopped her. "Little Chirp, you can't eat that." After staying in the forest for a few days, I ran out of food. I wanted to ask the store to recommend some wilderness survival rations for me, but the store recommended me some absurd rations. Dragon liver and phoenix gall cost over 60,000 points for one serving. I set the filter to show options below 5 points, but the result was low-quality potions. Using one can keep you from eating for 10 days, but it also costs 5 points. If I calculate it, I will need 30 points in 2 months. That's still a lot. But then I suddenly remembered, I have a talent that fits perfectly. Looking at those people who can only buy low-quality pills, while I happily munch on grass on the side, I was originally worried that the taste of this grass would be difficult to eat, but unexpectedly, with my talent for garbage bin, this grass has turned into a delicious dish. People around me see me eating grass and think I'm starving and crazy. After eating and drinking enough, earning points is easy and powerful. After observing in secret for a few days, quietly eliminating a regiment of goblin regular army as set up by Little Chirp's sister, I can earn 20 points. But the strength of these goblin regular soldiers is not weak. Although Little Chirp's sister can still handle them, the panel has already indicated that Little Chirp's sister is now a little overwhelmed. It seems that I need to improve my strength. Just then, I suddenly felt an increase in my mental power. Now my mental power has reached its limit. Finally, I can use my points to purchase upgrade potions for leveling up. With Little Chirp's sister, I went to the store and bought a level 0 upgrade potion that can only be exchanged for 200 points. Not a drop can be wasted. After drinking it, I immediately felt my thinking speed increase and my eyesight become sharper. I also clearly felt that the connection between me and Little Chirp's sister became closer. I opened the system after upgrading. I gained a skill point. I can learn a vocational skill or upgrade my monster contract talent. Although upgrading the monster contract talent can contract another monster, I haven't encountered a monster as powerful as Little Chirp yet, so I'll learn a skill first. Then I gained a level 0 morale boost skill. The skill effect can enhance the strength and agility of a contracted monster by 1 point, lasting for 60 seconds. Can be used 5 times a day. This enhancement is not small. At a critical moment, it might change the situation. After upgrading, the level 0 mental training technique is useless, so I spent 60 points to buy the level 1 mental training technique. I clearly felt that the leveling speed of level 1 is much faster than level 0. By the way, I'll see what other items I can exchange with the remaining points, then I'll continue to brush monsters with Little Chirp's sister. As I keep grinding monsters day and night in the forest, I have become the archenemy of all goblins. Now they kill humans on sight. By chance, I encountered a goblin in the forest who was about to attack a mother and daughter. Fortunately, I intervened in time and had Little Chirp's sister save them. The mother and daughter were incredulous, wondering why the spider monster in the first level would save them, while Liu Keki's goblin stronghold, which was planned for a surprise attack, had already been taken by me and Little Chirp's sister in advance. Liu Keki was puzzled about who had taken their stronghold in advance, but when he saw it was Little Chirp's sister, he was scared out of his wits and immediately ordered his team to hide. He realized that Little Chirp's sister was even stronger than before, and even if his whole team attacked together, they might not be opponents. A group of goblins fell easily under Little Chirp's sister's scythe, as simple as cutting leeks. Although Liu Keki was very scared, he still pretended to be calm in front of his team, finding an excuse to say that Little Chirp's sister might be a special elite monster sent by the ancient gods. and it was not time to take action yet. The team believed it and praised their captain for his strategic foresight. In these days, as Little Chirp's sister's reputation spread in the forest, those who were saved by her were grateful and thought of her as a divine aid sent by the ancient gods. But because Little Chirp's sister kept taking away the goblin team's points from the forest, it also caused some dissatisfaction among certain people. But no matter what, it was Little Chirp's sister who gradually helped us stand firm and prevented the goblins from advancing their stronghold. No matter how famous Little Chirp's sister is, I am just a weak chicken little boy hiding behind her. These days, I have been grinding monsters tirelessly, and I have accumulated 60 points. After leveling up, I found out that the maximum distance I can let Little Chirp's sister leave me has increased to 500 meters. At this moment, a mission treasure chest suddenly appeared in front of me, congratulating me for completing the achievement of killing 10 goblins within 1 minute. I received a rare purple quality treasure chest. I was about to open it to see what rewards were inside, but my hand was stopped by the treasure chest. Then the system prompted, the treasure chest can only be opened at the stronghold. And a reminder again, the achievement Forest Goblin's Enemy, Novice has been activated. The Forest Goblin Shaman has formed a joint force to hunt you down. I estimated that the normal team would have about 10 people before. It seems that this joint force is going to be a big one. Day 18. Under the moonlight, the Goblin Shaman is performing a ritual. There is a group of goblin warriors riding on horseback in the Forest Goblin tribe. They cruelly train the centaurs to obey them. The goblins riding on horseback will have increased attributes. Under the call of the Goblin Shaman, they have gathered an elite cavalry force to hunt us down. But I have already made various preparations to deal with it. I have prepared some items and discussed tactics with Little Chirp's sister. We have been exploring around these 2 days and finally found a place suitable for setting traps. Little Chirp's sister has set up spider silk traps within a radius of 300 meters. So as long as someone approaches Little Chirp's sister, we can immediately sense it. I have also prepared a teleportation scroll with 5 points for emergency retreat. Now, Little Chirp's sister suddenly sensed someone approaching nearby. I want to see how powerful the team specially formed to hunt me down is. I saw a group of goblin cavalry riding on horseback. These human-horse hybrids are at level 1, and their mental power is 0 due to the cruel training by goblins. But their agility attribute is extremely high. Goblins have extremely high attributes when they are in a combined state with human horses. The system reminds me that it is best to separate goblins and human horses. Hint, elite among elites have always been the elite. Then a system task appeared again. Eliminate all forest goblin joint forces and earn 20 points. I didn't expect there to be cavalry this time. It seems that I need to use the morale boosting skill right from the beginning. With the bonus from morale boosting, Little Chirp's sister jumped up. But due to the high agility of the human horses, Little Chirp's sister's attack was dodged. The goblin immediately counterattacked upon seeing this. But with the bonus from morale boosting, as long as Little Chirp's sister is not completely surrounded, she can retreat safely. I saw the goblin cavalry step into the trap one by one. I quickly had Little Chirp cut the spider silk and release the trap. The huge stones that had already been arranged with spider silk on the tree all fell down, crushing the goblin cavalry, causing them to fall off their horses. Then, Little Chirp took advantage of the situation and killed all the goblin cavalry with one strike. I thought I had finally dealt with them successfully, but when I checked the system panel, it did not indicate that the mission was completed. At that moment, the Goblin Shaman suddenly appeared behind Little Chirp. Just as he was about to attack Little Chirp, I hastily recalled Little Chirp. The Goblin Shaman's attack directly shattered the ground into pieces. Fortunately, I recalled Little Chirp in time, otherwise Little Chirp, who was hit by the attack, would have been seriously injured. However, this also exposed my position. The attributes of the Goblin Shaman, enhanced by the secretary and equipped with stealth skills, made him a formidable forest goblin. Little Chirp had no way to confront him with brute force. I saw the Goblin Shaman disappear again. I quickly took out a teleportation scroll before he approached me, and activated the town portal scroll to leave. As I watched the escaping Goblin Shaman, who was unwillingly roaring in anger, I teleported back to the city. Upon returning to the city, I found that many people had returned from their explorations. At this moment, I saw Lukeki's team passing by in front of me. Seeing Lukeki wearing high-quality equipment, I admired him for not only exploiting his team members, but also making them wholeheartedly follow him. I deliberately found a corner with no one around, ready to open the treasure chest and see if I could get any items to increase my combat power. I saw a flash of purple light, arranged in the order of ancient, white, blue, purple, and red levels. This time, it opened a purple rare quality box, and inside was a pill. According to the system prompt, consuming this pill can transform the user into a different existence. But there was no change in myself. belonging to level 5 illusion LV5. Duration, 24 hours. Can be detected by prophecy skills of level 5 or higher. With this, can I just sneak into the goblin team and stab the shaman's waist? However, there is still one major problem, which is the language barrier with the goblins. I use the store assistant to search for translation candies. After using them, I can communicate fluently with goblins, but I don't plan to buy them from the store assistant, because it consumes charges. After all, people are already at the base. I can just go directly to the store to buy them. Day 26 of exploration. The shaman led a large goblin army to hunt down humans in the forest. They were searching for my tracks everywhere in the forest. As soon as they encountered humans, they would eliminate them without hesitation. Luckily, I encountered a lone goblin in the forest. I took the opportunity to eliminate him as Little Chirp, and then took the pill to pretend to be a goblin and infiltrate the team. Although there was no change in appearance, in their eyes, I looked just like them. I pretended to meet a formidable enemy and let them blow the horn. At this moment, upon hearing the horn, the shaman rushed towards us. The shaman asked us where the enemy and the detestable spider were. I casually pointed to a location to divert the excess soldiers. As expected, the shaman ordered the cavalry to chase after them. I checked his panel and found that he was not using any secret technique enhancements, so his attributes were not high at the moment. So it was the perfect time for a sneak attack. I pretended to report an important piece of information to the shaman. The shaman did not have any precautions against me at this time, and allowed me to approach and report. This gave me the perfect opportunity. When I approached enough, Little Chirp immediately took action. Before the shaman could react, he fell to the ground and couldn't get up. At this moment, the goblin soldiers also reacted. I quickly used the skill to boost morale for Little Chirp. With the attribute boost from the fallen shaman, Little Chirp easily dealt with these soldiers. In a moment, Little Chirp had taken care of all the soldiers in front of us. This morale boosting skill is really useful. I can't wait for the third skill. Unfortunately, it takes until level 5 to unlock. At this point, the remaining 2 goblins threaten fearfully. You've killed so many of us goblins, and the gods will curse you for it. I couldn't believe that these goblins were actually scared enough to use such low-level tricks. But suddenly, a system prompt popped up. You have successfully defeated the Goblin United Forces and achieved the achievement, Goblin's Enemy Intermediate. Obtain Agatha's treasure chest. The achievement Goblin's Enemy Intermediate is now in effect. You have been regarded as the #1 enemy by the Forest Goblin Great Shaman. It seems that this hatred value is indeed a curse. And there's also the Great Shaman. Just by listening, they are at least 2 levels stronger than ordinary shamans. Those 2 goblins thought I was scared since I didn't react. But since that's the case, why don't I come up with a way to completely eradicate the forest goblins? I asked the 2 goblins a few questions and threatened them. As long as you answer honestly, I will give you a quick and painless death. After all, I'm not a demon. In the ancient god's stronghold, Isekai'd gathered the major powerhouses for a meeting. Isekai'd said, I believe everyone has noticed that the strength of the forest goblins has increased significantly recently. At this point, Leijin stood up and said, so what? As monsters become stronger, we are also getting stronger. Other powerhouses also responded, but Isekai'd believed that things were not that simple. During his exploration, Isekai'd triggered a main quest. He shared the quest with the other 4 people. The main quest was to clean up the forest goblins. The goal was to destroy the Goblin Thunder tribe and the forest goblin altar. But Xingqi believed that Isekai'd had ulterior motives and proposed that Isekai'd lead the team. Isekai'd saw through Xingqi's thoughts and proposed forming a team in council mode. The other 2 powerhouses also agreed to form a team in council mode. But Yumin declared in advance that if the so-called council violated my beliefs, I would withdraw immediately. Isekai'd also promised that the council would be free to come and go without bothering anyone. In the forest, I rely on the strength in Little Chirp. The goblin team led by the shaman was completely wiped out. To prevent them from spreading the news that I can transform into a goblin. In the depths of the forest, there is an altar belonging to the Thunder tribe. The altar is guarded by the most powerful goblin shaman. As long as this altar exists, goblins will continue to be born. At this time, I also received a main quest from the ancient god. The main quest is to destroy the Thunder tribe in the altar, because representatives from all tribes have been sent to the Thunder tribe due to the shaman's summons. I took the opportunity to disguise myself as a goblin and infiltrate the team. However, there was a goblin in the team who took an interest in me. He claimed to be familiar with the Great Shaman and offered to take me to meet him. I glanced at the character panel and realized he was a lecherous goblin. It seems that my talent as a soft rice king is working. After dark, all the goblins went to sleep. But the lecherous goblin took the opportunity to have ideas about me. Just as he was about to steal my rabbit, I directly summoned Little Chirp's sister. At this moment, a flash appeared in the distance. Before I could take action, someone shot an arrow at us. The lecherous goblin was hit by the arrow. Could it be that there is an ancient god warrior with archery skills sniping here? Before I could figure out the situation, a rain of arrows came towards us. One by one, the goblins still sleeping were taken care of. I quickly took out a defensive item to defend myself. Fortunately, I activated the shield in time to resist. However, this arrow actually consumed 2% of my shield's energy, and the sniper has locked onto me. Unless I use teleportation, I won't be able to shake him off. But little Chirp's sister doesn't seem to have plans to escape. Since that's the case, how can I run away without even fighting? I prepared to boost morale with little Chirp's sister, but the enemy's attack suddenly stopped. That's when I vaguely saw that it was actually a centaur ambushing us. And she's a centaur girl. She was hesitating between attacking and not attacking. It seems that my talent as a soft rice king is working. I quickly opened the shop and bought 10 translation candy beans at once. I don't know why she has such a deep hatred towards goblins. After eating the candy beans, I quickly stopped the centaur girl. I don't want to die unjustly. The centaur girl was stunned when she heard me speaking their language. I followed by deceiving her into thinking that I am also a centaur. It's because of the malicious curse of the forest goblins that I turned into this form. It's probably because of Soft Rice King's talent. She actually believed what I said, and her status panel also turned friendly. I explained to her that I infiltrated a team of forest goblins to seek revenge. Centaur's sister also felt sympathy for me, but little Chirp's sister beside her became jealous. Centaur's sister looked at little Chirp's sister next to me. I quickly introduced him as the little Chirp's sister with whom I made a contract. Centaur's sister then grabbed little Chirp's sister's hand to express her gratitude. It seems that this centaur's personality is frank. Unlike Spider's sister's deep affection for me, this centaur pities me more, but it's convenient to use his hatred for goblins. I asked Centaur's sister where her people are, so that we can seek revenge together. But at this moment, the Centaur sister's expression darkened. Gone. Family, friends, tribe, all gone. I didn't expect that the centaur I saw riding the goblin had already been wiped out because the centaur tribe was destroyed. This is the last surviving centaur in the forest. All the centaurs have been enslaved and wiped out by the forest goblins. I rely on Soft Rice King's talent to successfully gain the favor of the centaur girl. Originally, I planned to unite with the centaur tribe to attack the goblin tribe in the forest together. Now it seems that I can only cooperate with this one centaur girl. I now look like a goblin. I can easily infiltrate into the goblin tribe. Little Chirp's sister can also hide in my shadow and sneak in with me. The centaur sister watches little Chirp's sister enter my shadow. She also wants to go in, but only those who have made a contract with me can do it. The centaur sister said that she is willing to do anything as long as it helps her seek revenge. Now I can only contract with one monster, but I have another way. That is to wear a collar and pretend to be my slave. The centaur sister becomes alert when she sees the collar, as it represents enslavement. Erase, mind, curse. I explained to her that the curse on this evil item has disappeared. Now it's just an ordinary collar. The centaur sister cautiously touches it and indeed doesn't feel any curse anymore. When I was dealing with the cavalry goblins before, I tried to remove the collar and free the centaurs. But once the collar is destroyed, the curse will invade the mind and make the centaurs go mad and attack indiscriminately. So afterwards, I just let little Chirp's sister kill them directly. But this is currently the only way to free them, and the collars that have triggered the curse will also lose their power. Originally, I collected the collars intending to bring some members of the centaur tribe to infiltrate into the goblin tribe, but now there is only one that can be used. Before that, I asked the centaur sister for her name. The centaur sister introduced herself as Mia. I also gave myself a fake name, Lin, but infiltrating the tribe still requires the centaur sister to play the role of a slave. Mia, after putting on the collar, expressed that she will definitely play the role well, but this acting skills probably need some time to be trained. I hope the replacement pills I carry can last through this period of time. On the 35th day of the expedition, many goblins came to the Thunder tribe for pleasure. However, the goblin guarding the gate took the opportunity to extort wealth from them. He demanded gifts from every goblin who wanted to enter the Thunder tribe, and those goblins who were not wealthy would be rejected and punished by him. Not only is the goblin guarding the gate greedy, but he is also extremely lecherous. When he saw the goblin mother and daughter, he even wanted to take them as his slaves. Coincidentally, this was reported by his subordinates. They saw a very wealthy goblin with a centaur slave. Of course, they were talking about me. As expected, we were stopped by him. The goblin gatekeeper was greedy and lecherous. Seeing me with a centaur slave, he wanted to extort money from me. Fortunately, I used a substitute pill in advance and transformed into the appearance of a forest goblin messenger. The gatekeeper directly stopped us and lectured. The great shaman said banned lowly commoners from setting foot on the noble land of the Thunder Tribe. It seems that any race with wisdom will develop inequality in classes. At this moment, the mission system suddenly prompted, even lowly commoners have anger. This gatekeeper actually insulted you as a lowly commoner. It is suggested to slap back. The harder you hit, the more rewards you get. Minimum 20 points, maximum 30 points. The goblin gatekeeper looked up and down at Mia and said, your centaur slave cannot enter directly. You need to pay a tax. These forest goblins are really greedy, selfish, and arrogant. They are indeed simple and easy to understand creatures. But fortunately, I have long been prepared to deal with him. Coincidentally, the face-slapping task was triggered. I just took out the token that I scavenged from the lecherous goblin messenger in the forest. The goblin gatekeeper was also frightened when he saw this token. He thought to himself that those who can become goblin messengers are all nobles. Beside me was the goblin lackey who was still shouting ignorantly. He was directly kicked open by the goblin gatekeeper. Immediately, he nodded and bowed to me. The neutral attribute panel changed to friendly. I glanced at the goblin family that had been bullied by them. I let them follow me into the tribe. The goblin gatekeeper also showed us favor and let us in. After entering, I looked at the system panel and found that the face-slapping task just now was not completed. Could it be that this face-slapping task requires me to really slap someone? I'm just an ordinary messenger. I wouldn't do something so reckless. Anyway, it's just a small task. I'll put it aside for now. Thunder Tribe is the largest goblin tribe. It is divided into 3 levels. The bottom level is the civilian goblins without combat power, responsible for the endless work for the tribe. The second level is the residence of goblin soldiers with combat power. The third level is where the noble goblins live. They don't need to work and can enjoy everything. Moreover, it is said that the noble goblins have the blood of the ancestors flowing in their bodies. Their spiritual power is particularly high, and they can master some spells. Powerful strength leads to power. The central temple of the Thunder Tribe is the World Forest, the origin of the Goblin Clan, and the residence of the highest-ranked Great Shaman. I originally planned to meet the Great Shaman as soon as possible, but was stopped by the gatekeeper. No one is allowed to see the Great Shaman before the meeting of messengers, so we can only leave and discuss for a long time. I found the residence of the original lustful goblin messenger here. I will rest here with Mia and Little Chirp first. Little Chirp set up traps near her residence, and suddenly, I had an idea. I thought about how the goblin tribe also had class stratification, but this also gave me another idea. Where there is oppression, there will be resistance. I can incite the lower class goblins to rebel. If the tribe becomes chaotic, I will have a chance to strike at the Great Shaman. After all, the Great Shaman has too many guards around him. Under normal circumstances, it's hard to get close to him. The next morning, early in the morning, we arrived at the Goblin Assembly Square. As long as the drums here are sounded, all the goblins have to come to assemble. But only in case of emergencies and when ordered by the Great Shaman can the drums be sounded. I had just sounded the drums when the guards tried to stop me, but you were immediately stopped by the goblin guards beside him. Because I now have the status of an envoy, and they dare not do anything rashly. Goblins from the tribe gradually gathered together, and I saw that almost half of the tribe's goblins were present. Next, I would start an exciting speech. Fellow tribesmen, I have received a revelation from the ancestors in my dream to guide you, eliminate the enemies of our race and lead you to a happy life. But those goblins seemed to not understand the meaning and did not believe in the arrival of the ancestors. I continued to say to them, have you not noticed that you have more and more work to do, but less and less food to be allocated? Even if you give your all in blood and sweat, your efforts cannot be compensated. Do you know why this is? Only to hear those goblins yelling, it's all because of the enemies of our race. I immediately scolded, wrong. It is all caused by unfairness within our tribe. But those goblins who listened still didn't understand where the problem was. It seems that I overestimated their intelligence. I turned around and secretly searched for a recommendation from my assistant for a persuasion item below 50 points, but the system showed that there were no such items. Seeing this, I had to remove the price limit. Just show me the cheapest one. Then a 70-point item appeared on the screen, but I only have 60 points now. Where can I gather these 10 points? At this moment, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Isn't this the guard who gave me the face-slapping task when I first entered the tribe? Perfect timing. Take my punch in the face. I punched the goblin guard in the face. The goblin guard was infuriated and furious. Luckily, I timely exchanged for an item that enhances persuasion. I angrily reprimanded the goblin guard for their shameless behavior of hoarding wealth, using the item as a catalyst. This sparked resonance among many commoner goblins. The noble goblins hesitated to intervene in the situation with the guard. The goblin guard was surrounded by the resistance of the commoner goblins. At this moment, a goblin shaman suddenly appeared in the crowd. It is said that this is the most outstanding shaman among the younger generation, the successor of the great shaman. However, due to being addicted to drinking and lust, he has become weakened by emptying his body. Unfortunately, the one who came was not the great shaman. The goblin guard saw the shaman coming and hurriedly reported me. I continued to incite the lower class goblins with the help of the item, shaking their beliefs. Even the female goblins were charmed by me. Under my continuous incitement, the goblins gradually believed in my words. Seeing this, the shaman quickly called the guards to come and subdue me, but was stopped by arrows shot by Mia. I continued to incite the lower class goblins against the injustice and exploitation of the nobles. The shaman was anxious and kicked the guard to stop me. The exploited commoner goblins who worked hard but couldn't even eat enough and whose families were slaves for the nobles. The nobles were immediately displeased after hearing my words. I saw that the goblins were about to be persuaded by me and I continued to add fuel to the fire. But at this moment, the goblin cavalry was finally about to take action, only to be blocked by the commoner goblins. It seems that they have been persuaded by me. The shaman ordered to kill all the commoner goblins blocking the way, but the maternal goblins stopped them, including some noble goblins among them. The goblin cavalry dared not to take action as they saw their mothers among the commoner goblins, thanks to the long-term oppression of the noble goblins. However, at this moment, I thought of another plan, methods that can provoke their anger. I raised my hands and walked towards them, willing to surrender. Please, Shaman Jiat, lock me up, saying it was to protect everyone from goblin infighting caused by me. The low-level goblins were moved to tears when they heard it. The maternal goblins were even more devoted and angrily warned Shaman not to harm me. They immediately chopped him when he dared to hurt me. I voluntarily extended my hand for Shaman to take me away, but after listening to the words of the maternal goblins, Shaman was furious. However, he did not immediately lay hands on me due to fear of public anger. He just ordered the goblin guards to lock me up in the dungeon, but all of this was part of my plan. On the other side of the Goblin War, Lukeki and his team were planning how to attack the Forest Goblin stronghold. But at this time, Lukeki received news that Captain Min, who had gone to seek support from the Centaur tribe, had discovered that the Centaur tribe had already been wiped out by the Forest Goblins. Lukeki did not expect the Forest Goblins to be so formidable. The plan to join forces with the Centaur tribe would have to be reconsidered. Without support, they could only raise the overall strength of the ancient god warriors. Although Lukeki did not want to do this, it was the only way now to have everyone contribute their excess points to help those without points arm themselves. A few days after I was locked up in the dungeon, Shaman, who had locked me up, came to visit me. Looking at me in a miserable state in the dungeon, Shaman proudly said to me, "The great shaman already knows about your actions and is preparing to publicly execute you after eradicating the enemy of our race. Although I cannot kill you now, I can still torture you." Seeing his proud expression, I remained calm. As the goblin shaman pulled out his whip to flog me, I directly signaled Little Chirp to take action from the shadows. The goblin shaman hadn't realized what was happening when Little Chirp swiftly raised her knife and struck. The goblin shaman who almost died under Little Chirp's blade had a terrified expression as he touched his own face, unable to believe that he was still alive. Immediately begged us for mercy. He thought to himself that as long as he alarmed the guards outside, he would be saved. Little Chirp directly used its silk to gag his mouth. "Quiet. I won't kill you," I said. "After all, if I escaped, it would mean admitting my guilt." The goblin shaman looked at us in terror. I asked Little Chirp to hang it up directly. I told Mia to go to the next door storage room and get back the confiscated weapons. But the goblin shaman still didn't give up and looked at us with hope, thinking that the guards outside would recognize it and come to its rescue. However, I saw through its little trick. Although all goblins looked the same to me, I decided to be safe and beat it to the point where its own mother wouldn't recognize it. The guards outside heard its screams and thought that the shaman was torturing me. After I tortured it, I made it unrecognizable. To be even more sure, I stripped it of everything it had on it. Now it should be foolproof for it to be my substitute. However, I am a kind person and can't stand to see others' hope and then watch it shatter. So, I decided to let its hope shatter ahead of time. The shaman didn't understand what I was doing, but it watched as I restored it to its enemy race, then back to its own appearance. In an instant, it felt hopeless and its spirit collapsed. Seeing it in that state, there was no need to worry about it using any magic spells. Moreover, it seemed that the accessory it was wearing was a prop that increased agility. I tried wearing it myself, but I didn't feel any difference. When I opened my attribute panel, the only change I saw was the increase in experience when using the mental upgrade prop. However, Little Chirp seemed very interested in this necklace. Since it wanted it, I decided to give it to her. After all, I had no use for it, and it would increase her affection for me. After putting on the props necklace obtained from him on Little Chirp, her mobility attribute increased slightly. It seems that this item is exclusive to monsters. No wonder it didn't have any effect when I wore it. From the looks of it, the items bought in the shop can only be used by myself. The items obtained from defeating monsters can only be used by monsters. Moreover, I found out that Little Chirp can also carry a small amount of items stored in her shadow. I had Little Chirp continue to store my substitute pills in her shadow. These substitute pills are really useful. Unfortunately, they can only transform me into beings that I have seen before. Otherwise, I could have directly transformed into the goblin ancestor and manifest my power. Completing the mission is an easy task. Mia, who found the weapon, also returned at this time. When she saw me transformed into a shaman, she didn't recognize me at first. I explained to her that this was a curse and it caused me to transform. Then, I used my identity as a shaman to lead Mia out of the dungeon. Although we were questioned by the guards on the way, they didn't dare to stop us due to my identity as a shaman. With the identity of a shaman, I successfully arrived at the Grand Shaman's palace. I met the Grand Shaman under the pretext of reporting my work, but he was in a state of constant enhancement and I had no chance to take action. After reporting my work, I left the palace. At the same time, on the other side of the goblin tribe, 2 ancient god warriors were captured alive by goblin soldiers. The goblin soldiers were considering how to torture the ancient god warriors. Fortunately, I passed by and stopped them. Unexpectedly, these people had also explored the Thunder tribe. One of the ancient god warriors immediately begged for mercy when he saw me, willing to become my slave as long as I spared him. But as soon as he finished speaking, he was immediately scolded by the other ancient god warrior. He retorted, "Screw your alliance team. Just giving me a few points and you expect me to risk my life for you. Do you think I'm a fool?" I didn't expect Liu Keki to voluntarily share his points. Doesn't seem like his style. I saved these 2 people using my shaman identity. I used this opportunity to inquire about the guards. Regarding what I said on the square earlier, although the warrior showed dissatisfaction on the surface, in fact, he was already shaken by those words. At night, I went to the goblin camp, continuing with what I said on the square earlier, encouraging goblin soldiers to rebel. But one of the goblin soldiers said with a sigh, "The great shaman represents the will of the goblin ancestors. Whatever he does, it must be for our own good." It seems that the will of the great shaman has already penetrated the minds of these goblins. I need to use the items I bought earlier. As long as I speak into this horn, the persuasive effect will be enhanced. With this item, the effect is indeed remarkable. The goblin guards, who were originally neutral, have become friendly. But one of the goblin guards sighed and said, "But what can we do?" The nameless one stepped forward and was locked up in the dungeon. Even if you are a respected shaman, you cannot defy the orders of the great shaman. As ordinary warriors, we are even more useless. We cannot change the tribe at all, and there is no hope. It's not like that. There is still hope. The goblin guards were surprised. I continued to say, "I visited the nameless one in the dungeon. He told me a story that I found meaningful. If there is a huge death curse magic array, impenetrable and difficult to destroy, with many sleeping kin inside the magic array, their life force will be drained soon. But they were put under a sleep spell, so even if they are sacrificed, they won't feel the sorrow of death. At this time, a forest goblin appears outside the magic array. As long as he shouts loudly to wake up the kin, let them try to save themselves. However, the possibility of self-rescue is very low, and once self-rescue fails, the awakened kin will have to endure the pain of being drained of life force. However, when faced with the questions I pose to them, they don't know how to answer. If they are rescued, they still have a glimmer of hope to survive. But if they fail, they will die in agony. They have no solution to this problem. At this point, I told them that a goblin had barged in from the outside, not just shouting from outside, but deciding to share the fate with their kin, personally awakening them. In the end, with the efforts of all the goblins, the curse of death magic array was destroyed. Is such a thing really possible? No matter how slim the possibility is, it is impossible if you don't try. No matter how small the possibility is, as long as you take action, there is hope. And the nameless goblin voluntarily walked into the magic array. He has awakened me already, and I am willing to inherit his will and awaken others. What about you? After listening to my speech, the goblin guards are willing to follow me. That's how it is. I have already reached an agreement with the goblin guards here. In the next 2 days, I kept inciting the lower level goblins. Now I only need a chance to launch a coup. Coincidentally, the maternal goblins appeared at this time. Because the shaman took me away in front of them before, they hold a hostile attitude towards the shaman I am pretending to be now. However, due to the innate talent of Soft Rice King, some of the maternal goblins are still friendly to my current identity. Originally, I planned to find an opportunity to manipulate the maternal goblins, but unexpectedly, they came to me voluntarily. Through my passionate acting and the bonus of soft Rice King talent, I easily controlled the maternal goblins. I asked them to beat the ancestors' war drum when the time comes, and speak up for the nameless goblin together, but they are worried that they will be obstructed by male nobles at that time. I assured them that I will stand up to stop them when the time comes. They immediately looked at me with admiration, but then I quickly found the goblin nobles. I exposed their plan to them. The maternal goblins gathered as planned and marched on the square. I and the goblin guards hid in the forest, observing, because it's not yet time for rebellion. The maternal goblin just beat the war drum. The goblin nobles arrived immediately. How could this be? Didn't the gigantic tooth shaman say he would persuade these nobles for us? But at this moment, the goblin nobles were actually part of my plan. First, let the maternal goblin provoke the conflict. Then use the goblin nobles to ignite the anger of the guard goblins. Immediately, I led the goblin guards to charge out. The maternal goblin who saw this was overjoyed, but the goblin nobles were shocked. I misjudged you. I didn't expect you to pretend and actually set a trap, trying to imprison our brethren on false charges. Those maternal goblins listened to what I said, thinking that the goblin nobles broke their promise. But in fact, I deliberately leaked the information to the goblin nobles to use them to incite rebellion among the lower class goblins. Mia, sister, take action. Mia shot an arrow and directly knocked down one of the goblin nobles. Fellow tribesmen, since we want to reason with them but they want to play tricks, then we won't reason with them. Let's storm the prison and rescue the nameless one together. The fire of mutiny has been ignited. Next, we'll see how the great shaman in the temple will respond. I led the lower class goblins to the foot of the temple. The lower class goblins below the temple were angrily shouting. Suddenly, an arrow shot at my feet. Stop right there. Move forward, and no mercy. One of the maternal goblins said. He is the tribe's most outstanding cavalry general. Wasn't he out searching for enemies of the race? Why did he come back? At this critical moment, I must maintain morale. I then used the horn to incite the lower class goblins. The lower class goblins, stirred up by me, became even more fervent in their clamor. Next, we'll see how the great shaman in the temple will respond. At this moment, the great shaman, who was performing a ritual, suddenly heard a goblin warrior shouting, "Gigantic Tooth Shaman has led a rebellion." The surrounding shamans found it hard to believe that the rebellion was led by Gigantic Tooth Shaman. Giant Wood Shaman grabbed a goblin soldier to confirm. At this moment, the great shaman interrupted the Giant Wood Shaman. "No need to panic, just answer truthfully," he said. "Although there are many commoners who have been deceived, they should not pose a threat in terms of combat power. Why hasn't Gigantic Tooth Shaman been able to suppress them? Yes, it's because in addition to the commoners at the bottom level, Gigantic Tooth Shaman has also led a group of warriors from the middle level, and many noble goblins have participated in the uprising." The shamans who heard this were furious. Although we can summon new reinforcements no matter how many bottom-level goblins die, warriors and nobles are not easily obtained. At this moment, the great shaman threw a staff to Giant Wood Shaman. "Take the ancestral totem with you immediately," he said, "and try to preserve the tribe's strength as much as possible. As for the rest, you can decide for yourself." Gigantic Tooth Shaman was very excited to receive the totem. "Thank you for your trust, great shaman. I know what to do now." Meanwhile, outside the tribe, an ancient god warrior was observing the situation with a telescope. When he discovered that the tribe was in turmoil, he immediately notified Lu Keki via the intercom. What will Lu Keki do upon receiving the news of the turmoil? Inside the tribe, the goblins were fiercely engaged in battle. Although the elite goblin guards were well organized, the combined combat power of the bottom-level goblins and goblin warriors was formidable. Originally, the plan was to let the forest goblins fight among themselves and weaken their vitality, but unexpectedly, the combat power of these forest goblins was so strong. It's possible that with a little more effort, they could directly overthrow the great shaman. Just then, the goblins who were fighting suddenly stopped moving. What's going on? Why has everyone stopped? On the temple, a goblin dressed like a shaman slowly descended. "The ancestral totem has arrived. Stop all actions. Next, I will announce the divine decree on behalf of the gods." The great shaman listens to the divine decree. The judgment result has been issued in advance. The unnamed is innocent and released. I only knew when I saw the system panel. This is a goblin shaman, and he's very hostile towards me. Hearing the news of the unnamed's innocence, the goblins instantly lost their rebellious intent. I didn't expect the great shaman to do this. He undermined their motivation to rebel. If he succeeds, all my efforts will be in vain. I saw the shaman continue to speak as he walked down. "The great ancestor knows everything. There will be no misjudgment. But you caused trouble before the result came out. Fortunately, the great shaman is merciful and forgives you. Go home quickly." Upon hearing this news, the goblins began to worship the great shaman. Indeed, the respect of these goblins for the great shaman is ingrained. Even if they know the great shaman made a mistake, they would only think that someone deceived the great shaman. Arguing with them at this time would only backfire. So I decided to go with the flow. Please wait, everyone. We can celebrate the innocence of the unnamed after he comes out, then we can leave. Let me personally go in and bring the unnamed out. But the guards at this time disagreed. Don't push your luck. The great shaman has already forgiven you, and yet you want to celebrate for a criminal? Upon hearing this, I immediately retorted, since the great shaman has said that the unnamed is innocent, are you questioning the great shaman? The goblin guards were speechless by my rebuttal and reluctantly agreed to my request. The giant wood shaman personally led me into the prison. When we reached the depths of the dungeon, I immediately called out for Little Chirp to come. She directly ended him with a single strike. Then, in the gaze of many goblins, I emerged from the dungeon with the gigantic tooth shaman in a completely defeated state. Roaring in anger, I said, the unnamed prisoner is dead. He was tortured and killed by the shamans. He was unfairly killed by this tribe. The death of the unnamed prisoner shocked everyone. Even the goblin guards were incredulous. No one had interrogated the unnamed prisoner before. I planned to use the death of the unnamed prisoner to once again incite the fury of the lower class goblins and reignite their rebellious spirit. Under my instigation, the internal strife among the goblins erupted again. Although some goblin guards noticed that something was wrong, it was too late to stop everything. The fury of the lower class goblins had already consumed their reason. The flames of rebellion had ignited in the village. Although the elite goblin cavalry was formidable, the lower class goblins did not back down. The sheer number of lower class goblins made them difficult to resist. They were not afraid of death. In this way, we launched another attack on the temple. The great shaman finally showed himself. I led the lower class goblins to attack the base of the great shaman's temple, but the temple guards, who were originally at a disadvantage, suddenly became incredibly powerful. They became impervious to blades and bullets. It turned out that the great shaman had used secret techniques on them, but this secret technique is overusing their vitality to exchange for power. However, it seemed that the great shaman had finally appeared in person. I saw two shamans behind him using secret techniques on the temple guards. Gigantic tooth, the farce ends here. As long as you surrender, I can forgive your actions. After all, I have watched you grow up. Although the great shaman is powerful, he still couldn't see through the illusion of me becoming a gigantic tooth shaman. I immediately questioned him, what if I surrender? My companions, what should we do now? On what basis do you negotiate terms with me? Your subordinates are just commoners. They won't be able to stop the temple guards at all. Next, they will be skewered like kebabs. Allowing you to surrender is already my greatest mercy. Hearing the words of the great shaman, even the low-level goblins hope that I can survive first. The great shaman arrogantly thought I would obey him, but I have come this far already. Why would I stop now at this moment? Those low-level goblins started to waver due to the threat of the great shaman. At this moment, I pick up the persuading trumpet drum again to boost their morale. They are my companions, my comrades in arms. We made an oath to eliminate the injustice of this tribe. Great shaman, today, either you die or I perish. There is no third possibility. Hearing this, the low-level goblins who heard it were once again filled with morale. Just then, goblin warriors from the front line suddenly rushed in. Great shaman, there's bad news. Those furless two-legged beasts have attacked. The frontline troops are probably unable to hold on. The shamans who heard this news were incredulous, only to hear the goblin warrior from the front line say, these two-legged beasts are different from the ones we encountered before. Not only do they have excellent equipment, their leader can also use mysterious methods completely blocking our attacks. The shamans who heard this were shocked. The enemy of our race. This must be the enemy of our race. Liu Keqi's team took the opportunity to attack the tribe. This also gave me a chance. I pretended to suggest to the great shaman to stop the internal strife and focus on resisting the external invasion. In fact, I wanted to distract the elite guards around the great shaman, but the great shaman saw through my intentions. He wants to take this opportunity to get rid of me, ordering that as long as the low-level goblins can kill the enemy of our race on the battlefield, they can obtain noble status. The temptation of noble status caused those low-level goblins to waver. I didn't expect this old guy to be so decisive, but the great shaman didn't stop there. Immediately afterwards, he pointed at me and said, to establish the above laws, you must engage in a sacred duel with me, to repay all the sins of the rebels. It seems that the great shaman deliberately found a legitimate excuse to get rid of me, and under the temptation of noble status, many of the goblins I lead have started to waver. These goblins are all greedy and selfish, and they have already been tempted by the great shaman to betray me, but this also gave me a chance to approach him alone. Alright, I accept your duel invitation. Upon hearing that I accepted the challenge, loyal lower-ranked goblins immediately rushed out to stop me. Knowing that the great shaman is powerful and that he wants to kill me in the name of the duel, they tried to persuade me not to go, but I, prioritizing the overall situation, was willing to sacrifice myself for the safety of the tribe. They didn't expect me to be so great, and even the goblins who originally wanted to betray me felt guilty, urging me to stay. Even the guards of the great shaman were moved by my actions. At this moment, I am seen as the savior in their eyes. Can I defeat the great shaman and win in the end? In the meantime, Liu Keqi's team took the opportunity to attack the frontline goblins. Without the blessing of the great shaman's secret technique, these elite goblins were no match in their eyes. Although the leaders of those goblins were slightly stronger, they were no match for the combined strength of the ancient god warriors. After accepting the challenge from the great shaman, I followed him into the goblin arena. At this time, the great shaman was still boasting, not taking me seriously at all. Listening to his nonsense made me feel sleepy, because there would be no audience in this arena. So I told Mia not to pretend to be a slave anymore, and then handed her an attribute enhancement item that I had looted earlier. Seeing my actions, the great shaman was very surprised. "Are you scared, silly? Talking to an unconscious centaur?" But then he was attacked by Mia. The great shaman was surprised. He didn't expect the unconscious centaur he lost consciousness to have special archery skills. But in fact, Mia Sis hadn't lost consciousness at all. I immediately shouted to Mia Sis to launch another attack. The great shaman immediately ordered the centaur under him to avoid it and then used a secret technique to allow the centaur to also use the special archery skill. Only two arrows collided with each other. The intense explosion rushed towards the great shaman. This was the explosive arrow I specially exchanged for with points from the helper. The effect seemed to be good, but after the smoke cleared, the great shaman appeared unharmed. I didn't expect him to use a healing secret technique to restore his injuries, and even the centaur below had a secret technique boost, allowing his centaur to activate special archery skills. Dealing with the great shaman was not as simple as I thought. However, although the great shaman seemed confident on the surface, he was actually intentionally delaying time and accumulating energy behind the scenes. Fortunately, I have the talent of a gamer and can easily see through all of this. No wonder this guy annoyed me so much. It turns out we are of the same kind. I wanted to ask Mia Sis to use the explosive arrow to attack again, but because the target was also a centaur, Mia Sis hesitated. I reminded Mia Sis that he no longer had consciousness, and if she wanted revenge, she had to be prepared to sacrifice. This finally made Mia Sis take action, but at the same time Mia Sis took action, the centaur on the opposite side also attacked, and the arrow shot by Mia Sis was unexpectedly knocked away by the arrow from the opposite centaur. My mount was originally the chieftain of the centaur tribe and had the strongest archery skills. Even the archery skills of your slave have been seen through, only to see a prompt on the great shaman's panel that his secret technique has already charged up to 50%. I immediately instructed Mia Sis to execute Plan B. I had Mia Sis hold me in front of her so that even if the opposite centaur launched an attack while moving, I can also use a shield to completely block their attacks. The great shaman was still surprised by my move. Then, I had Mia throw me towards the centaur. She took the opportunity to shoot all her explosive arrows at the great shaman. After the smoke from the explosion cleared, the great shaman was still alive, and his secret technique was about to be completed. But it's not over yet. Under the cover of the smoke from the explosion, Little Chirp attacked as well. But unexpectedly, the great shaman managed to withstand the attack. Indeed, the difference in attributes between Little Chirp and the great shaman was still too great. The great shaman, who had completed his secret technique, was able to withstand the attack solely with his physical strength. At this moment, a mark appeared on the great shaman's forehead, and a terrifying aura emanated from him. With the boost from the secret technique, the great shaman's power greatly increased. He was able to block Little Chirp's attacks with just his physical strength. At that moment, Little Chirp looked at me, wanting to know my next instructions. I shook my head at her. Only by finding the great shaman's weakness could we ensure victory at the smallest cost. But if we can't, we'll have to fight to the death. The great shaman attacked Little Chirp with a palm strike. Mia took the opportunity to attack and protect Little Chirp. With Mia's cover, Little Chirp seized the chance to counterattack. But despite their efforts, the huge gap in strength was insurmountable. The great shaman's palm strike sent Little Chirp flying. Then the great shaman launched a group skill attack. Little Chirp could only barely defend with his sickle. Mia, who was beside him, was scratched on the leg as she couldn't dodge in time. At the critical moment, I appeared and blocked the great shaman's attack. Gigantic Tooth, the power you rely on is nothing in front of me. Even if you save it now, what can you do? You will all be slaughtered by me in the end. Great shaman, Haven't you noticed that even with the power of your soul attached, neither I nor my monsters have wavered in the slightest? Heh, are you trying to say you're a hero, trying to save face for yourself before you die? No, I'm just stating a fact, because I knew you had this move. The great shaman was surprised, as he had never revealed this move before. Do you have it too? No wonder you have the 12 spirits and some brains. You finally realized it. Then Little Chirp activated her ultimate move. Leader's skill, the mercy of the goddess of desire. A violent energy fluctuation, a collision of Little Chirp's and the great shaman's energies. But even so, they couldn't break through the great shaman's defenses. But this is exactly what I've been waiting for. The great shaman, who blocked the attack, is most vulnerable at this moment. Then I activated the skill to boost morale. In an instant, I increased Little Chirp's strength and agility, breaking through the great shaman's defense in an instant. And this is the only way to victory that I can think of. The great shaman has been torn apart, and Little Chirp also exhausted her stamina. Among the remains of the great shaman, I found another piece of equipment. Little Chirp seems to really like these equipment. After I changed Little Chirp's equipment, her agility attribute increased slightly compared to before. At this moment, Little Chirp suddenly picked up the old equipment and put it in her mouth. I quickly stopped Little Chirp. Looking at Little Chirp's panel, this equipment does not stack attributes, but Little Chirp seems to enjoy eating it. Since that's the case and it's useless anyway, I'll just let Little Chirp eat it as a snack to increase her favorability towards me. But I didn't expect that right after she ate the equipment, Little Chirp's panel showed another prompt. Due to absorbing the power of someone, Little Chirp's body has shown a tendency to evolve. What the heck is this someone's power? But it shouldn't be a bad thing for Little Chirp's body to show signs of evolution. At this moment, Mia, who was beside me, called out to me. She was holding a critically injured centaur, hoping that I could save him. But the centaur had lost consciousness, and the slave collar had already extinguished his soul. So I could only regretfully tell Mia, this centaur can't be saved anymore. After listening, Mia was very sad. But I encouraged him that there are more important things to do now, which is to destroy the altar at the center of the temple. Only by doing so can the goblins no longer appear, which made Mia regain her spirits. Although Mia's emotions are complex, she was not emotionally dragged down during the critical moment and acted with a clear mind, and she seems very suitable for a covenant. Meanwhile, on the other side of the goblin battlefield, the goblins who started rebelling because of me were also falling apart due to the temptation of the High Shaman. Because of one sentence from the High Shaman, they were eagerly competing to gain noble status by achieving merit. Although some of the goblins who were loyal to me were still persuading them, it was useless against these goblins who were blinded by greed. By this time, I had already arrived at the foot of the temple, but unexpectedly, even in the battle for the survival of the tribe, the temple still had guards. But everything is finally coming to an end. The final battle between the goblins is about to begin, with Isekai'd leading the ancient god warriors in a total assault. In an impassioned speech, the morale of the ancient god warriors was ignited. At this moment, the battle with the goblins broke out instantly, and I also reached the foot of the altar. Now, all I need to do is destroy the altar to complete the mission. At this moment, the altar suddenly had some abnormal movements, and energy surged out from the altar and rushed straight towards the goblin battlefield. Upon seeing this energy enter the bodies of the goblins, their strength greatly increased, instantly reversing the battlefield situation. Isekai'd realized that things were not looking good. Even if they won, the losses would be severe if they continued like this, so he immediately transferred command to Jinchi and joined the frontline battle himself. Meanwhile, the altar was still emitting black smoke continuously, although I didn't know what effect this black smoke had. I had a feeling that it wasn't something good, so I called on Little Chirp to go up and smash the altar. Under Little Chirp's sickle, one strike caused cracks to appear on the altar, but immediately, more dark energy emerged from the altar. Although I had a protective shield to prevent the invasion of dark energy, the energy of the shield was dropping rapidly. At this moment, I suddenly realized that Little Chirp and Mia were still exposed to the dark energy. But when I turned to look at them, I found that the dark energy seemed to have no effect on them, and the system panel showed that the dark energy was loved by monsters. Not only could it heal monsters, but also promote their growth. I didn't expect that dark energy could actually benefit monsters. What is this thing? The dark energy emitted by the altar made Little Chirp extremely excited. Not only did the dark energy heal Little Chirp's injuries, it also increased all of his attributes. Mia, don't worry, Little Chirp is fine. But why is there no change in Mia despite the effects of the black mist? Could it be related to this certain someone? At this moment, I felt a sharp pain on the back of my hand. It seems that something is wrong with Little Chirp's body. The panel showed a prompt. Little Chirp has reached the limit of absorbed energy. Little Chirp, destroy the altar completely, then we'll leave here. Mia, Little Chirp and Mia simultaneously launched an attack, and the goblin on the battlefield lost its empowered strength. In an instant, the goblins were defeated and fled in disarray. The strange power on the forest goblins disappeared. They were no match for us. Follow me and kill them. The elite goblins saw the situation was not good and immediately retreated. At this moment, on Lukeki's system panel, it showed the destruction of the Goblin Thunder Tribe mission was completed. Next, only the mission to destroy the Goblin altar remained, but the altar had already been completely destroyed by me. The system also showed the mission as completed. However, Lukeki would probably arrive at the tribe soon. I need to leave as soon as possible. Just as Lukeki arrived at the altar, the system prompted that the mission was completed and the settlement began. Lukeki's face darkened instantly. He hadn't even found the altar yet. How could the mission be completed? Could it be that someone else had taken the lead? But looking at the reactions of the people in the team, no one seemed to know. Lukeki couldn't believe that someone else had beaten him to complete the mission at the cost of his own points, and his contribution ranking was only second. He was immediately filled with anger and shame. He swore that he would find out who this person was and make them pay the price. If nothing unexpected happened, I should have been ranked first in mission contribution. I received a red level, grade 1 combat treasure chest as a reward. Unexpectedly, I obtained the highest level reward of red quality, and when I opened the red treasure chest, there was a 90% chance of obtaining purple quality items, and a 10% chance of obtaining red quality items. I was curious to see how my luck would fare. After opening the chest, I obtained a golden item called Somersault Cloud, but because my level was only 1, I could only hover close to the ground for now. But with this item, I no longer needed Little Chirp to carry me around. At this moment, Mia suddenly screamed. It turned out that the illusion effect of my substitute pill had worn off. I suddenly transformed from a goblin into a human form, which startled Mia. But Mia's favorability towards me was already very high. The system also reminded me that even though I had changed my appearance, she still trusted me deeply. After all, identities can be fake, but our shared life and death experiences in the Goblin tribe were real. I explained to Mia that the curse had changed again, and Mia believed without a doubt in what I said. Then she pointed to my somersault cloud and asked what it was. I told her that I heard the centaur ancestor thanking me before leaving the tribe, and this was a gift from the spirits to express their gratitude. Mia expressed her desire to meet the ancestor as well. I comforted her by patting her head and saying she would have the chance. At this moment, Little Chirp suddenly appeared in front of me. It seemed like she was jealous. She also extended her head towards me, asking me to stroke her. As I thought about it, if I had a contract with a sentient monster, I would have to coordinate their relationships afterwards. Should I now coax Mia to stay by my side? But it didn't seem appropriate to let her wander around on her own either. Just then, Mia suddenly burst with a powerful energy. Descendants of the royal bloodline, bearers of my legacy, your determination to defend the clan will awaken me. If you truly wish to save our people, then return to the grasslands and undergo the trial. Claim the throne of the Horse King that belongs to me. Find my lost treasure. Inherit my severed power, and restore the glory of the Horse Kingdom. Then, he disappeared before our eyes. Though I don't know why he appeared, he seemed to imply that the Horse Clan once had a kingdom, and Mia has royal bloodline. Could she be the new Horse Queen? According to her, the Horse Clan used to be the dominant force on the grasslands. However, after the death of the Horse King, internal struggles weakened the clan, and they were invaded by goblins, resulting in the fragmentation of the Horse Clan. But now, Mia has been called upon by the Horse King. However, she is worried about passing the trial to become the Horse Queen. I comforted her, saying that since the Horse King chose her, there must be a reason for it. You also played a crucial role in defeating the goblins. You are definitely qualified to become the Horse Queen. But thinking about it, if Mia becomes the Horse Queen, doesn't that mean I have a chance to form a contract with the Horse Queen? Seeing this scene, Little Chirp was very jealous. Mia also wanted to take me back to the grasslands with her, but I explained that I couldn't leave the grasslands due to a curse. After all, if I'm too far away, I won't be able to continue upgrading without the ancient god shop, so it's better for her to go alone. But since she's leaving, I have to go back to the main camp and get some items for her. So I asked Mia to wait for me here, and I flew back on my cloud to get some items. Meanwhile, Lukeki, who was already under the destroyed altar, triggered another quest. A timed quest for the area, to kill as many goblins as possible within 24 hours. Points will be calculated based on the number of goblins killed in the area. Surprisingly, the usually selfish Lukeki shared the quest with others, so the purpose is actually quite obvious. It's to find out who in this team completed the task first. After all, the person who is capable of completing the task first must have some strength, so as long as we check the points ranking in this task, we can roughly determine it. Mia, who is going to the grassland for the test of the Horse King, Before this happened, I wanted to give her a prop. Now, I have occupied a place in Mia's heart. She still fantasizes that after she becomes the Horse King, I can become her knight, her personal bodyguard. Just when she was still immersed in her fantasies, I happened to return from the main camp. I gathered the centaur tribesmen who were wandering in the forest together. I explained to Mia that they had lost consciousness and were acting purely on instinct now, but as long as they are of the same centaur tribe, they can control them. Then I handed Mia a communicator. As long as she carries this communicator, she can talk to me from any corner of the world. However, this communicator has a limited number of uses, only 10 times. So I warned Mia not to contact me casually unless it's an emergency. If you encounter danger, you can use the communicator to ask for help from me. Even if I can't leave the forest, I will find a way to help you. And this is what I exchanged with my last 5 points. Now I'm once again penniless. Mia, who received the gift, was deeply moved and hugged me tightly. After saying goodbye to me, she left with those centaurs. Although Mia has left, it seems like I have new troubles again. The next day, Lukeki's team, with the task he shared, earned a lot of points. But his plan to find out who destroyed the altar through the points ranking seems to have failed. I have already asked my people to pay attention to the ranking. Everyone's scores are relatively average, with no particularly outstanding individuals. The same goes for my team. We haven't found any suspects either. Now it's basically certain that the person who defeated the final boss is not in our team. Although Lukeki didn't find any clues in the small team, Jinchi beside him seemed to have discovered something. Please open the points ranking for the mission, everyone. This kid had 0 points in the last mission, but this time he made great progress. There is a high possibility that he is the target we are looking for. Except for me, another person who obtained the hidden reward of the ancient god appeared, and he is currently ranked first in points. Originally, this person had a low presence in reality, so he passed the first level of the spider cave without any harm, and obtained the hidden reward of the ancient god, changed to a 5 elements envoy. The sudden appearance of a powerful person also caught the attention of Lukeki and his team. After all, someone who was originally unknown suddenly jumped to the top of the points list. It couldn't help but make Shinchi suspect that he was the one who snatched the altar mission, and no one in the team had an impression of this person, but Lei Jing didn't hesitate to conclude that it must be this person who took the task. But you men beside him believe that it might not necessarily be this person. It's possible that this person just happened to complete a highly profitable mission. At this point, the originally impulsive people with different styles formed 2 factions, and it depends on how Lukeki makes a decision in this situation. After careful consideration, he felt that Lei Zheng's actions were unreliable, so he chose to let Yumin analyze it. After all, she used to be a criminal detective. Then Yumin analyzed, since you guys insist, then I'll focus on the scene and do a crime scene reconstruction. The victim had obvious signs of intense struggle before death, with traces of sharp weapon cutting and arrow penetration at the same time. So it's either a team committing the crime, or a master. Before we started our attack, the goblin's order was very stable, which means the culprit acted at the same time as us. The possibility of a mole can be ruled out. A large team is not conducive to concealment, so at most 2 people took action. The possibility of 1 person is greater. Although his analysis was logical, but at this moment, as the perpetrator, I was very distressed because of my overly intimate actions with Sister Mia. Caused Little Chirp to be dissatisfied. She put 3 pieces of spider silk clothing that she knitted herself on me. Only then did she calm down. However, after completing the task, I want to go to the mall to see if there are any new items. Although I don't have any points on me now, unfortunately, the mall still only has the same old items. Just as I was leaving the mall, I happened to see a wanted notice posted on the wall. I hope it's not my wanted notice. When I approached to take a closer look, the reward for this bounty is actually 400 points. What a generous offer, but I don't want to expose myself for just 400 points. After completing the first phase of the mission, I happened to meet Yuner's sister. Based on the hints on her panel, it seems that her mission didn't go smoothly, but as a lone ranger, I don't want to get too involved with her, so I politely greeted her. It's great to see you here, Yuner's sister. Is it? But I saw you lost in thought just now. Did something happen? No, I was just thinking about some unrelated things. Lin Xiaoyun suddenly showed concern, which made me feel a bit strange, so I quickly changed the topic and asked her how she's been recently. Although she said she's doing well on the surface, I can tell that she seems to have encountered some problems. At this moment, a shadow suddenly appeared. Could it be that something is coming? I saw the ancient god appearing again in the sky. I'm pleased that you have successfully completed the first stage of the mission. The second stage of the mission is about to begin. With your current abilities, the upcoming tasks will be exceptionally difficult. You need to make more progress and changes. You have 3 days to form a team. Those who fail to form a team within 3 days will be eliminated by me. I didn't expect a new task to come so quickly after the first stage ended. Being a lone ranger with my abilities is obviously the best choice, but I didn't expect the ancient god to forcefully impose a team formation task, and the condition for team formation is to have 400 points for team registration. Team needs at least 2 people. The maximum is 100 people. After careful consideration, it's estimated that ancient god is afraid of the next task being too difficult, so he announced this team task to keep more warriors. But if I join the team now, if I hide my strength, I might be treated as cannon fodder. If I expose my strength, it will be very dangerous. The only way to solve this problem right now is probably through Lin Xiaoyun. After all, she is the only one who knows about Spider-Girl's existence and trusts me unconditionally. With Soft Rice King's blessing, she is currently the most suitable one. I asked Lin Xiaoyun tentatively, "Yuner sister, you're so strong, you should have a team already, right?" Actually, sister is alone now and thinking about finding another team to try her luck. I was very surprised that she was so strong, yet she didn't have a team. Has sister always been acting alone? That's amazing. Since I'm alone too, why don't we form a team together, Yuner sister? But if it's just the 2 of us, with sister's strength, I'm afraid we won't be able to protect you, so it's safer to join another team together. In my memory, Lin Xiaoyun has always been someone who isn't afraid of difficulties, but now she's beginning to doubt her own strength. These abnormal signs make me wonder if she had a previous team that was wiped out in the last mission, leaving her with a psychological shadow. I still need to find a way to persuade her to team up with me. Sister, don't worry about this. I've actually been hiding my combat strength. Little Chirp sister is very powerful enough to get a lot of benefits just by accompanying me along the way. Since you have the extremely powerful spider monster by your side, you don't need sister's protection, do you? It seems that I need to stir up her protective instinct to get her out of the shadow. Since she's under the influence of Soft Rice King, I shouldn't worry about her betraying me. But my profession is very special. Although Little Chirp's sister listens to me, the cost is that I can't strengthen myself, causing me to be very weak. It's because of this weakness that I've always been cautious in acting alone. I feel insecure when I'm with others. Every time Little Chirp goes out to battle, I can only hide. At that time, I thought, if only you, sister, could protect me by my side. Coincidentally, this time, with the ancient god mission, if sister doesn't mind, let's team up. After listening to what I said, Lin Xiaoyun seemed visibly shaken. So, you have such difficulties. I can't let you be in danger because of me. Then, let's work together, Lin Hao, and help each other out. But creating a team requires 400 points, which puts us in a difficult position. At this moment, a chubby guy suddenly stood up. Pan Wei is willing to offer all his points in exchange for joining Miss Lin's team. I glanced at this guy's attribute panel and asked Yuner, "Is he an acquaintance of yours?" Yuner awkwardly covered her face and said, "We only met once." After that, he kept pestering me. If Yuner says so, then isn't this guy a stalker? Seeing the situation, the chubby guy quickly explained, "Don't misunderstand, little brother. I'm not that kind of stalker. Ever since I had the privilege of witnessing Miss Lin's valiant battle against goblins with her bare hands, it has filled me with excitement." After listening to the chubby guy, I looked at Yuner with confusion. Tearing apart goblins with bare hands? Yuner awkwardly explained that it's not like that. Then the chubby guy continued, "What impressed me the most was that even though Miss Lin knew she would get hurt, she still protected her fallen teammates." Hearing the chubby guy's words, it confirmed my earlier speculation. At this point, Yuner got angry and said, "What are you trying to say?" Actually, I wanted to join the team right away, but that battle was too brutal. In the end, only Miss Lin was left standing. Faced with such suffering, I didn't know how to speak up. From the beginning to the end, I always believed that Miss Lin is a trustworthy leader. So I've been looking forward to Miss Lin getting back on track. Until the ancient god announced that we had to form teams, I dared to appear and request to join the team. Hearing what Fatty said, Lin Xiaoyun's experience was just as I had guessed earlier. Sure enough, it was because her previous team was wiped out, leaving a psychological shadow. But looking at Fatty, he clearly wants to use Lin Xiaoyun's kindness to achieve his own goals. I saw Fatty, in order to show his determination, open his panel and wanted to give us all his points. Unexpectedly, his few words made Lin Xiaoyun hesitate. At this time, the system prompted that I received 1 point from Pan Wei. As a result, this guy talked a big game but only had 1 point in the end. But he's quite good at talking. Maybe he can help me retrieve points from Lukeki with his eloquence. I checked his attribute panel and found no problems. It's not impossible to let you join, but there's something you have to do. What do you need me to do? Please tell me. Big brother. Yuner sister asked me curiously why I let him join. I just reassured Yuner sister and told her I have my own plan. Actually, letting you join is just a sentence. We don't have enough points. You also saw the reward poster in the city, right? Are you saying, big brother, that I should claim the points on the reward poster? Yes, you got my meaning immediately, Fatty said timidly. If he finds out that I'm impersonating him and comes to seek revenge, it would be bad for Big Brother and Miss Lin. I assured him and said that this big shot is my good brother. Then I directly called Little Chirp to cut off a piece of hair from the back of Fatty's head. Then I told Fatty that the missing hair on the back of his head is proof of his existence. At this point, Fatty touched the back of his head and indeed found a bald spot. He immediately believed it and promised to complete the task. Unisister also immediately said to me, "The big shot you're talking about is yourself, right?" I quickly told Unisister to keep her voice down. Don't let others hear. Panway arrived at Liu Keqi's campsite. Before that, I had already informed Panway about the battle scene with the Great Shaman, but I was still worried that there might be some omissions. At this moment, Panway took out a prop, a communication ear shell, which could be worn in the ear and used for communication within a kilometer. With this, they could communicate at any time. At that time, Liu Keqi was having a meeting in the camp when one of his subordinates suddenly came and reported that the person on the wanted notice had arrived. Liu Keqi immediately asked his subordinates to bring the person in. He had been hunting outside during this period and just returned to find that they were looking for him. He asked whether they were friend or foe. Liu Keqi introduced himself as the team leader, Liu Keqi. They explained that they had no ill intentions and Panway introduced himself. To their surprise, Panway was not intimidated at all and had a few tricks up his sleeve to prove his identity. Liu Keqi asked Panway a few questions and he answered according to what I had told him. However, these answers alone were not enough to gain Liu Keqi's trust. It seemed that Liu Keqi was not easily fooled. Then, Panway described the scene of the battle one by one. When I entered the boss's room, I saw the Great Shaman on a centaur leader, but I was not afraid. I faced the arrows launched by the centaurs under the Great Shaman's command with just one hand and blocked the attack. At this point, others expressed disbelief that Panway could block the attack with just one hand, but he dismissed their doubts as ignorance. Then, Panway continued to say that he seized the opponent's opportunity and shot several explosive arrows. Even if they blocked the arrows, they would still be affected by the explosion. Although the Great Shaman was injured, it was not fatal. In order to survive, he activated the ancestral blessing, and his strength suddenly doubled. However, at that moment, I used only one sword to defeat him. Although Panway spoke with great eloquence, his ranking in the points list still made the people below him unconvinced. However, the details described by Panway were similar to what I had said, so there should be no problem. At this point, Liu Keqi raised a tricky question. Why was there no evidence of any battles on the way when we entered the stronghold? How did you manage to sneak in without being noticed? I told Panway not to panic and that we could use the Goblin Temple as an excuse. Panway explained that the goblins value the temple, which diverted their attention and allowed me to sneak into the leader's quarters. Liu Keqi was still skeptical, but the general situation seemed to match up. Just then, someone arrived at the camp. Leader, I found the person on the bounty list. Another person who had also obtained the hidden treasure of the ancient god appeared and wanted to claim points at Liu Keqi's camp. Everyone was surprised to see this person, who was ranked first in points, as his presence was quite imposing. Liu Keqi saw this person and couldn't help but sigh, as his outfit was almost identical to Yumin's description. I never expected another person would impersonate me. At this moment, Liu Keqi understood that if these two people were not in a cooperative relationship, one of them must be fake. Seeing Panway's hostile expression, Si Ruyang was also worried about his own identity being exposed, so he used his ability, the 5 Elements secret technique, to test Panway's strength by observing the flames on his body. The result was surprising. Panway was weak. Qingqi was very certain that the person he brought was the real deal, while Panway might have just peeked and not actually killed the boss. Seeing that everyone was questioning Panway, he brought out the package he had been carrying and said, "This is the weapon I used to kill the boss. You asked so many questions before, so you must have some information. Now, seeing this, you should be able to tell if it's real or fake." Yumin spoke when she saw Panway pull out a weapon. The wounds on the body at that time were obviously caused by a short and thin sword. If it were this sickle, the wound would not be so neat. I didn't expect the wound caused by Little Chirp's sickle to be identified as a sword wound. I had to ask Panway to find an opportunity to leave the snail meat behind and leave. Panway immediately slapped the table in anger and scolded, "So Liu Keqi was testing me all along? Is this how you treat guests?" He took the opportunity to secretly stick the snail meat under the table and left the campsite. Si Ruyang also received the 400 points given by Liu Keqi. "Ruyang, don't let this person disturb your mood. This is the promised reward of 400 points. May I ask if Ruyang is interested in joining our team?" After all, the ancient god has just issued a team task, and now we need to join a team. But Si Ruyang claimed to like freedom and dislike being constrained, and demanded to be listed as a cooperative partner. Liu Keki, who was eager for talent, agreed to his request. Pan Wei, who had returned at this time, felt remorseful because he couldn't get the points back. But it was my misjudgment, and it has nothing to do with him. Moreover, leaving the snail meat behind allowed me to overhear a lot of information. Lin Xiaoyun reminded them that the deadline for teaming up was approaching, and they needed to find a way to accumulate enough points. Since they couldn't obtain points through wit, they had to resort to force. Pan Wei was worried that the opponent was ranked first on the leaderboard and they probably wouldn't be able to beat them. I just want him not to worry. I will ask my brothers for help and bring him to the Goblin Temple. Upon hearing that there's a senior helping, Pan Wei assuredly patted his chest and promised to bring him over. Although I am confident that I can defeat Si Ruyang, it would be difficult if he notices and chooses to escape, but Lin Xiaoyun assured him that she had a way to prevent Si Ruyang from escaping. While secretly tracking Si Ruyang near Liu Keki's camp, Pan Wei blinked and Si Ruyang disappeared. Suddenly, he appeared behind Pan Wei and said, "Fraud, why are you following me?" Pan Wei was caught following Si Ruyang. He was arrested in a blink of an eye and immediately begged for mercy, claiming to have a way to earn points. Seeing that Pan Wei was weak, Si Ruyang let his guard down. Pan Wei then mentioned that he had found a treasure chest, but due to the special requirements of the task, he couldn't complete it alone and needed Si Ruyang's help. Si Ruyang, thinking that this might be an opportunity to earn points, agreed to go with Pan Wei. Pan Wei brought Si Ruyang to the Thunder tribe of the goblins they had visited earlier. Si Ruyang was puzzled as he had checked the place thoroughly before and found no hidden rewards. Pan Wei pointed to the temple and said that it was inside. However, Si Ruyang realized that he had been tricked when he saw that the temple was in ruins. He demanded to know the purpose of Pan Wei's deception. Pan Wei immediately pretended to beg for mercy, but Si Ruyang no longer believed him and drew his sword. At this moment, Pan Wei smiled slightly, knowing that his goal had been achieved. Suddenly, a trap appeared under Si Ruyang's feet, and he fell into it. Pan Wei was pleased with himself but was surprised to find that the trap was empty. Meanwhile, Si Ruyang appeared behind him, and Pan Wei realized he had underestimated him. Si Ruyang drew his sword and attacked, but Little Chirp appeared just in time to block the attack. Si Ruyang was shocked to see such a powerful creature and wanted to escape. However, he found that his body was moving towards the sound of the fight, where he saw Lin Xiaoyun. Lin Xiaoyun's sarcastic fist can control people with comparable mental power within her own field of view when the fists collide and make a sound, attacking Lin Xiaoyun. With the help of Little Chirp and Lin Xiaoyun, Si Ruyang was eventually captured. I took a glance at his panel. He's a special profession 5-element executor, and his agility is even higher than Little Chirp's. Fortunately, we have Lin Xiaoyun's taunting fist, or else he might have escaped. With the cooperation of Little Chirp and Lin Xiaoyun, we successfully obtained 400 points from Si Ruyang. However, Pan Wei didn't want to let go of his cash cow so easily and searched Si Ruyang for 50 more points. After all, compared to the equipment on his body, Si Ruyang was more willing to sacrifice some points. At this time, a force hit Si Ruyang from behind, knocking him unconscious. To prevent Si Ruyang from launching a surprise attack after Lin Xiaoyun's taunt loses its effect, it's safer to knock him out directly. However, Lin Xiaoyun seems a bit too kind-hearted, but I told her this is the safest way. After it was over, I pretended to thank the big shot for his help. Pan Wei immediately worshipped me. Next, we need to return to the camp and register to establish a team. Finally, we made it just in time for the registration, but when I handed the team leader position to Pan Wei, he was caught off guard. At this point, Lin Xiaoyun explained that the team leader is not determined by combat power, and you also deserve credit for successfully forming a team. This sudden trust deeply moved Pan Wei, but in fact, letting Pan Wei be the team leader to negotiate with people outside is more convenient for me to conceal my identity and strategize from behind. At this moment, a teleportation portal suddenly opened behind me and sucked us all in, sending us to a room. Pan Wei, are you okay? I'm fine, Miss Lin. I just fell on my face. After checking, we seem to have been transported to the mall in the main city by the ancient god. The mall? Did the ancient god teleport us here for a reason? I think we'll find out soon enough. And at this moment, the ancient god appeared in the sky. The ancient god has opened a new system for team bases, and all teams can have an exclusive base with different styles that will provide different attribute bonuses, and there will be different discounts for purchasing goods within the residence. The degree of discount will be determined by team contributions, so it is necessary to carefully consider what kind of residence style is needed, and the residence level will be uniformly distributed according to the strength of comprehensive strength. Qualifications for different levels can purchase different residence styles. the higher the level of residence style that can be purchased. After saying these words, the ancient god disappeared again. We were transported back to our original location. Then I opened the system panel and found out that I was the only one who received a diamond level qualification. But when I was ready to carefully select a residence style, I found out that residence styles need to be purchased with points. Although the best place has a bonus of +1 to all attributes, it requires 1000 points. This ancient god is really finding ways to bully the poor, but instead of keeping the diamond level qualification, it's better to sell it. At this time, in Lukeki's camp, they were also discussing the opening of the new system. After all, Lukeki's team has many talented people, and everyone is confident that they can definitely get the highest level residence. But after a while, everyone's faces turned dark. It turned out that no one in the team had a diamond level qualification. Even Lukeki only got a platinum level. Lukeki thought to himself, so now there may only be one person who has a diamond level qualification. He asked Yumin, who was next to him, to contact Siruyang. And at this time, Siruyang in the forest also opened the system panel to check, but he also only got a platinum level qualification. Just then, Lukeki called. And at this time we were discussing who we should sell the diamond level qualification to because we don't have enough points. The diamond level qualification is meaningless to us. Lin Xiaoyun suggested selling it to Lukeki's team. After all, they have a lot of money and need a diamond level qualification the most. But I think Siruyang is the most suitable person. Then Panwei realized, I understand now, Siruyang is regarded as the #1 person by Lukeki, just like an ancient god, received various privileges. If he wants to continue cheating for free meals and drinks, he must show his diamond level qualifications to prove himself. We can definitely swindle him if we find him. That's why we decided to split up and search for Siruyang. Panwei wandered the streets for a long time, but he didn't see Siruyang at all. He was grumbling without any clue when he happened to turn a corner and meet Siruyang. Siruyang pressed him against the wall since they were enemies. Facing Siruyang's hatred, Panwei immediately used what I had taught him to respond, making it clear that he had a diamond level qualification. If Siruyang wanted to continue cheating for free meals and drinks from Lukeki, he would need this qualification. After hearing Panwei's words, Siruyang seemed to hesitate. Panwei immediately offered 500 points, which we estimated to be his entire fortune. However, since only Panwei came, he did not seem willing to pay the 500 points. But this was also within my expectation. Panwei clearly stated that since he dared to come alone, he was not afraid of Siruyang's evil thoughts. Siruyang was forced to conduct the transaction obediently. Seeing Siruyang still hesitating, Panwei immediately said, since you don't want it, I don't need you as a buyer. Anyway, there are plenty of teams that need it, such as Lukeki. This immediately made Siruyang stop hesitating and submit to being swindled. After obtaining the points, we purchased a cinema-style residence. However, Lin Xiaoyun was puzzled. Although we had over 600 points, was it really a good idea to spend 400 points on a residence that only increased our spirit by 1? I explained that the ancient gods would not introduce useless things. According to the task prompt, the earlier we establish the residence style, the better. However, I actually have other reasons. Because the spiritual attribute affects the learning speed of exercise techniques, which I only discovered recently. After leaving the residence, we came to the prop area, ready to buy some props for future use. Lin Xiaoyun and Panwei were both wondering what kind of props to buy, but good steel should be used on a sharp blade. This is where my gaming knowledge comes in handy. I can tell at a glance which attribute would improve faster through exercise. From my observation, Sister Yuner's strength is her strong suit, and she's already been exercising it, so she needs to work on her constitution. The most cost-effective option is to buy a level 0 constitution exercise technique. When I finished speaking, Panwei couldn't wait for me to show him. I took a look at his attribute panel and was surprised to see that this chubby guy's agility attribute was so high. It looks like he's a flexible chubby guy. Nowadays, girls like the contrast of being big and fast, and you're already big, so if you can become fast, you'll definitely be popular with thousands of young girls. Faced with such words, Panwei looked puzzled. Is it really true? If that's the case, then I'll listen to you, big brother. So, he decided to buy a level 0 agility exercise technique. Although Lin Xiaoyun didn't know why I was talking so seriously and nonsense, the only thing she knew was that becoming faster wouldn't necessarily make him more popular with girls. Finally, the ancient god opened the second phase of the task, and Panwei, who had just become the team leader, became the target of criticism. He was stopped by someone as soon as he left the residence, and they recognized him as Brother Pan, who had now climbed up the ladder and became a team leader in a residence-style team. They asked if there were any masters in our team that they could admire. Panwei didn't expect this. While I was in the restroom, someone started watching me. How come the three of you followed Tianhuangba to bully me back then? And now you have the nerve to ask me? When these people heard that Pan Wei was toasting without being served, they intended to use force. But after some thought, Pan Wei said, "It seems you guys know what's going on. You know that our team has bought the resident style, so you should also know that since we bought the resident style, our team is not lacking in masters. Each and every one of them can kill goblins without blinking an eye. Everyone knows how to brag, so if there are so many masters, why would they need you as the team leader? Do you even know what a master is? A master is someone who only wants to cultivate and doesn't care about worldly affairs. If you don't want to be irrationally slaughtered by those masters, get out of my way." The people were impressed by Pan Wei's eloquent words, so he let them go this time, but warned them that if they ever acted disrespectfully again, they would face the wrath of his powerful team. Before the people could react, he quickly left and returned to the team's resident, where he told us what had happened, and how they had just bought the resident style and already had people watching them. However, since there were only a few teams that owned a resident style, it was normal for them to be targeted, and since the team list only displayed the team name, that's why they were able to scare the other people. But if they dared to cause trouble again, it would be their own fault. Finally, the second phase of the mission from the ancient god began, which was to explore the misty mountains outside the forest. Everyone's surroundings were open to the teleportation gate, and the map for this mission was also enormous. Each team would be randomly teleported to a location, and it was no wonder that the ancient god had forced everyone to team up, since it would be easy for someone to get lost in such a massive mountain. As I watched Pan Wei vomit repeatedly, although the teleportation from the ancient god was disorienting, his reaction was a bit too exaggerated. At this point, the task prompt revealed that the mist covered the mountains outside the forest, mysterious and dangerous. Find the key to unlock the fog. Let the mountains see the daylight again. The mission goal is to clear the fog in the area. But before we even set out, trouble found us on its own. Originally scared by Pan Wei, thinking our group had more than 100 people, he became even more arrogant when he saw there were only 3 of us. But he also didn't dare to easily offend us, because they believed we must have some strength if we were able to produce so many points. He was also worried that if he accidentally provoked a big shot, he would suffer. Coincidentally, he had a talent to test his opponent's strength. As long as he shook hands with his opponent, his skilled balance of power would be triggered, emitting different colored light based on the opponent's strength. The brighter the light, the greater the difference. When it glows white, it means the opponent is weaker than him. When it glows red, it means the opponent is stronger than him. Seeing that I was just a waste with white light, he turned his attention to Lin Xiaoyun. But Lin Xiaoyun only showed a faint red light. Seeing that we didn't have much strength, he revealed his true colors. He wanted to control us in the name of cooperation. Jokes aside, I know you too well. Cooperating with you is like making a deal with a tiger for its skin. We can't agree to it. Although he was rejected, he didn't actually seek our agreement. I'm not seeking your opinion, I'm just letting you know, he said and pulled me over. Seeing Lin Xiaoyun and Pan Wei panic, I immediately gave them a signal with my eyes. Lin Xiaoyun, who understood my meaning, didn't act recklessly. In the fog, they put Lin Xiaoyun and Pan Wei in front to explore the way. Let Lin Xiaoyun and Pan Wei explore. However, they just don't want to lose their own members. Along the way, they keep boasting about how strong they are and say that we trash all rely on their protection. But when he turned his head to brag to me, the members behind him had already disappeared without a trace. Turning his head again, even the ones in front were gone. Seeing that all the members were gone, he panicked. And his panicked appearance was seen by me. Seeing himself being laughed at, he couldn't stand it and was about to attack me. But just as he was about to attack, Little Chirp appeared and restrained him. What? This is a monster. Now I want to see who is really the waste. Tianhuangba, who was subdued by Little Chirp, directly begged for mercy on his knees. Since it's like this, I can't simply let him go. I directly searched and confiscated his points and equipment. Although I found a lot of things on him, the system indicated that he still had privately hidden props. But this should be his life-saving prop. I don't want to force him to be desperate. After wandering around in the fog for a while, I found that I had returned to the original place. It seems that I was trapped by some kind of barrier. At this moment, Little Chirp seemed to have sensed something and looked alertly at the tree next to her. Did she find something? Little Chirp kept waving at me to signal towards the tree. It seems that the tree is the key to breaking the barrier. When I tried to approach it, the system suddenly prompted me with a task to destroy the fog formation eye. The first warrior to destroy it would receive a special reward. It seems that the tree is the eye of the formation, but Tianhuangba also seemed to have received the task, and his expression showed that he had some ideas about the task. Since he still had a trump card hidden, I let him go and test it out first. I tied him to the tree, pretending to control him and not let him take the task, but actually I was forcing him to be desperate. Now, judging from his eyes, it seems that he has been driven to desperation. In the blink of an eye, the position of Tianwanba in front of my eyes transformed into a puppet. He appeared behind me, mocking me with his smugness. Without a second thought, he headed straight for the mission's focal point. Little Chirp and I pretended to stop him, but in reality, we wanted him to explore the path ahead. Just as he was about to act on the tree, a giant suddenly emerged from the ground, scaring Tianwanba. He was trembling and unable to move while facing the towering giant with a hammer. It turned out to be a cave goblin who had lived underground for years, with attributes that were off the charts except for his mental abilities. Tianwanba was too scared to stand up, desperately asking me for help, but this was of his own doing, and the goblin was agile in his reactions. Little Chirp's sneak attacks couldn't succeed, and his strength was formidable. Little Chirp was already struggling, and things would surely take a turn for the worse if this continued. If Little Chirp were to use his leader's skill along with my morale boosting, it should solve the problem, but it would take time for Little Chirp to launch his skill. I had to find a way to distract the goblin's attention. With my weak strength, even throwing stones wouldn't work. Suddenly, I came up with a great idea. In the heat of the battle between the goblin and Little Chirp, I poured a bucket of cool water over the goblin's head from a distance of 10 steps, and even gave him an international friend gesture. The goblin was shocked and stopped his actions, confused. He turned his head and saw me peeing from afar, and the scent of fresh water filled his nose. Finally, the insulted goblin couldn't take it anymore and went crazy, charging towards me with a hammer. Although I opened the protective shield in time, I didn't expect the remaining energy to be insufficient to withstand his attack. Fortunately, at that moment, Little Chirp's leader's skill was charged, and with my encouragement, we were able to defeat him in an instant. Little Chirp also obtained a purple quality straw man from Tianwanba, which can be used once a day to allow the holder to escape from their original position. After destroying the formation eye, we completed our mission and obtained a purple quality treasure chest. The mist disappeared with the destruction of the formation eye, and we followed Lin Xiaoyun's footprints to search for him. As the sky gradually darkened, I planned to use the little helper to purchase a tool to illuminate the way, but suddenly a bright light appeared, and another goblin appeared. Fortunately, Little Chirp blocked the sneak attack just in time to save my life. It turned out to be a cave goblin scout, known for its ability to launch surprise attacks. Without any protective equipment, I would have been done for if it weren't for Little Chirp. I quickly summoned the Cloud Somersault and Golden Hooped Rod and prepared to escape. Taking advantage of Little Chirp's engagement with the goblin, I ran away as fast as possible. However, just as I had boarded the cloud, another goblin appeared below, and Little Chirp once again blocked the attack just in time. Although Little Chirp blocked one goblin, the other took advantage of the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. Faced with the alternating sneak attacks of two goblins, Little Chirp and I were both overwhelmed. This was by far the most embarrassing situation I had ever been in, and using the town scroll to return home would take 5 seconds to activate, during which time we could still be attacked. At this critical moment, a voice suddenly sounded, and it was Lin Xiaoyun who had used his taunting skill. With Little Chirp's help, we were able to defeat the goblins. At this point, Pan Wei rummaged through his pants for his props. The murky fog can envelop a person in smoke for 10 seconds once it explodes. I immediately had Lin Xiaoyun retreat, and as soon as she came out, I had Pan Wei throw the props. The smoke instantly enveloped the goblins and Little Chirp's sister. During this time, we quickly used the teleportation scroll to return to our base. After returning to our base, I told them what had happened in the Misty Forest and also confessed to Pan Wei that I was the boss. After experiencing so many life and death situations together, I trusted him. However, Pan Wei probably already guessed it, but we can't just let the loss go like this. Suddenly, I remembered that Pan Wei had previously told me about his skill that can sense danger. Lin Xiaoyun also said that we were able to escape this time thanks to Pan Wei's reminder several times. With this talent, I immediately thought of a good idea to earn points. Then, I took them to buy props. Since Lin Xiaoyun is the front line of the team, I bought him recovery medicine and fog props so that he could attack and defend. I bought Pan Wei a multifunctional defense ball because he is responsible for exploration, so self-protection is most important. After buying the props for them, I only had 70 points left. From this battle, it can be seen that Lin Xiaoyun cannot protect me at all times, and Little Chirp's sister is not good at defense. Relying on props all the time would consume too many points. It seems that we have to find the second contract monster as soon as possible, preferably one with a hard shell, so that it can protect me like a mobile castle. Alternatively, we can find a control-type monster to cooperate with Little Chirp's sister to create opportunities for attack. Otherwise, a healing type monster would also be good, healing the team at all times. But these are all things for later. Oh, by the way, we completed a mission earlier and obtained a purple treasure box. Let's open it and see if there are any good things inside. If we could get a defensive item, it would be great. After opening the treasure chest, it turned out to be a strand of hair. The way to use it is to wear it on your head, and it can enhance all of the body's senses, including the sixth sense. However, the side effect is that the hair changes shape according to the wearer's emotions. I am speechless. What kind of thing is this that can express emotions? Pan Wei's talent happens to be perception, so I directly gave him the hair as a reward. Pan Wei, who received the blessing, can now sense even little chirp hiding in my shadow. However, the hair's changing shape according to emotions is really obvious. Along the way, we relied on Pan Wei's perception to explore. When he sensed the surrounding goblin ambush, we let Pan Wei lure the goblins out. As soon as the goblins appeared, Lin Xiaoyun used the taunting skill to attract them. While the goblins were controlled, I used morale boosting to coordinate with Little Chirp's sneak attack. We kept using this method to kill monsters and, as I expected, triggered a mission after killing the goblins. The mission required us to clear the goblins and destroy their stronghold. The higher the destruction level, the richer the reward. Sure enough, this mission was the same as dealing with the goblins before. Next, we just needed to keep repeating the same method, with Pan Wei sensing the enemies and then using Lin Xiaoyun's taunting and Little Chirp's killing blow. We rode on a cloud and farmed points everywhere. As time passed, Lu Keki and their team also triggered a mission, but the difficulty of this one caused them to suffer heavy losses. With the increasing rewards, Lin Xiaoyun and Pan Wei both got attribute potions and rose to level 2. However, I still haven't found the mental potion I need to level up, and this time the boss was stronger than before. We had to challenge it 3 times before successfully killing it. After killing the boss, we obtained a red treasure chest. Both Lin Xiaoyun and Pan Wei also reached level 2 one after the other. We are ready to return to the base and buy them a class change book. Lin Xiaoyun changed to a shield-bearing priest class, as their defense ability is excellent and suitable for their taunt skill. Pan Wei changed to a short-blade warrior, which is suitable for his high agility attribute. It cost 400 points to purchase 2 class change books. I was curious about what items could be obtained from the red treasure chest, so we quickly returned to the base to open it. After using the class change books, corresponding marks appeared on their backs. After upgrading for these 3 months, their attributes have greatly improved. After using the class change books, their job skills appeared automatically in their minds. Next, I prepared weapons for them, but they were also curious about what could be obtained from the treasure chest. We prayed together to open a red treasure. After opening the chest, a dazzling red light appeared, and a circular roulette was revealed. This is a red mythical quality item. The roulette can be spun for 3 chances to obtain items. The probability of obtaining a red item is 0.5%, a golden item is 99%, and a purple item is 0.5%. As we could not understand the other words on the roulette, we spun it all at once. After spinning the roulette, 3 beams of light flew out. 3 props appeared on the ground. All of a sudden, I obtained 3 gold quality props, including a piece of equipment that increased my spiritual attribute by 3 points, which was definitely a great item for me. Another item was a skill book that could convert my spiritual attribute to strength and grant it to my teammates at a ratio of 5:1, which was tailor-made for me. Equipping the item, my spiritual attribute reached 21 points. Lin Xiaoyun became curious about the last remaining item and wondered what its function was. It turned out to be a mission clue that marked the hideout address of an evil goblin, which Pan Wei and Lin Xiaoyun considered the most worthless gold item. However, I believe that since they were all gold quality, it was likely to be a rewarding adventure opportunity. The open treasure chest was named Spiritual Gift Package, and all the items obtained were related to spiritual power. Therefore, the clue might have a significant connection with spiritual power. Previously, I had killed goblins with different attributes and obtained corresponding attribute potions or items. Hence, this evil goblin might also yield a spiritual attribute-related reward as a boss. After analyzing the situation, I decided to complete the task alone. Although Lin Xiaoyun worried that I might encounter danger, I assured her that I had Little Chirp with me, and since they were all goblins with spiritual power, there should be no problem. Following the coordinates, I cleared the goblins near the valley and asked Little Chirp to hide back into the shadows before heading to the evil goblin's location. They actually turned the ancient god warriors into puppets. As soon as I entered the forest, I was surrounded by a group of puppets. Bloodveil, I'm here. Are you too scared to show yourself? After I finished speaking, there was suddenly silence all around. A hand slowly reached out from behind the tree. Could it be that you, two-footed beast, are actually bloodborne? Only to see that it was a cave goblin shaman. Under the blessing of secret arts, its attributes are extremely high, and it mistook me for bloodborne, so I decided to play along with it. At this moment, the rest of the goblins also emerged from behind the trees, but among them, there was one filled with hostility towards me. Bloodborne, don't you even have a puppet? It seems like these years of evading pursuit have not treated you well. The system also alerted me that this goblin was hostile towards me, so I had to find an opportunity to take it down first. Bloodwind, you're just narrow-minded. I go on adventures to find a path that can prolong our lives. You don't even have a puppet. You've turned yourself into a feeble two-footed beast. I'm going to kill you now. I've been waiting for this moment. I immediately summon Little Chirp from the shadows. I let Little Chirp handle Bloodwind, but that goblin also used secret arts. Spirit Shield. Meanwhile, I directly used different forms, same divinity, and boosted morale to enhance Little Chirp's abilities. But even so, I couldn't kill him with a single blow. It seems that without a boss skill, I can't finish him off in one hit. At this point, Bloodveil became anxious. I told them that I came back to find a way out together, but they questioned why I inflicted such heavy injuries on Bloodwind. I didn't care and said, he hates me so much that he'll become obedient if he gets hurt a little. Bloodveil immediately said, if you don't explain yourself clearly, don't expect to leave the forest. I just explained that there's a secret method that can enhance the strength of puppet monsters. Upon hearing this, Bloodveil became very curious. Feeling that I might be useful, he immediately lifted the hostile state towards me. Then I used the different forms, same divinity skill to boost the attributes of the puppets. They discovered that their puppet's strength had indeed increased. They asked me in confusion why I could achieve the amplification effect that only the altar had. I simply said that this is one of my many years of research. As soon as Bloodveil heard it was one of my research projects, he was shocked and asked, what other research do you have? Seeing that they took the bait, I continued by mentioning the longevity secret technique, and questioned them. Do you have any problem with me dealing with this waste now? The two goblins remained silent at this point. Then they expressed that their lifespans were almost over, and that we could talk things out. I told them that we could only have a proper conversation if they had no intentions against me, and I pointed to the item on my head, asking, do you know what I have on my head? Looking at the crown on my head, Bloodveil was shocked and said, is this the crown of the Goblin Prophet? As soon as they heard it was the crown of the Goblin Prophet, they immediately wanted to attack and snatch it. This is the reward from the great ancestor. Even if you snatch it, it's useless. You are already the Goblin Prophet. What more is there to say? Fools, who told you that there can only be one Goblin Prophet? As soon as Bloodveil heard this, he was stunned. That's right, I already know how to become the Goblin Prophet. I can do it, and so can you. But before that, you have to help me with something. Then I told them that parasitizing the ancient god warriors can also prolong life. They only just realized that humans can also be hosts. I thought that as long as they posed a threat to humans, I would be able to activate the mission, but nothing was activated. It seems like I need to take them to the ancient god camp to see. However, immediately after that, Bloodveil attacked his comrades. It turns out that Bloodveil had already cursed the puppets of those two goblins. He had known for a long time that these two goblins were secretly plotting against him. He took this opportunity to seize all their power for himself. And now that Bloodveil knew the method to prolong his life, his strength began to grow. But even if his strength increased, he wouldn't be a match for me and Lin Xiaoyun working together. After absorbing his comrades, his strength greatly increased. Keeping a monster that continuously enhances its power is always risky. I was considering whether or not to eliminate him on the spot. As a result, I received a system prompt that even if I fought Bloodveil with all my might, I wouldn't be his match. It seems that even with the help of Lin Xiaoyun and the others, we wouldn't be able to confront him. At this point, Bloodveil asked me what he needed to do. I told him that there are limits to the power of goblins. Bloodveil was well aware of this fact. I said that it was something I discovered when my lifespan was nearing its end. The prerequisite to becoming the Goblin Prophet is to become an ancient god warrior among the two-legged creatures. Upon hearing this method, Bloodveil became furious. Are you crazy? This is simply an insult to our goblin tribe. I would rather not do it if this is the method. Although he said this, I understood that he pursued power even at the expense of his own kind. It was just empty words. I told him that these ancient god warriors have mysterious ancient god protection, along with various magical items and skills. Even the forest goblins were wiped out. Upon hearing that the forest goblins were wiped out, Bloodveil was also shocked. Although individual forest goblins were not strong, they were numerous in quantity. I explained to him that it was because the ancient gods provide equipment, to enhance the strength of the ancient god warriors, and there are also upgrade potions to break through limits. After completing a mission, I obtained the title and crown of the Goblin Prophet. I told him that as long as he continuously kills the savages of the tribe, gaining the recognition of the ancient gods, he can activate the mission and receive rewards. Bloodveil couldn't wait and asked me what to do. I asked him to follow me and kill the savages of the tribe until he gains the recognition of the ancient gods. At this point, Bloodveil was already eager to take action. Indeed, these individuals who seek power can be easily manipulated by targeting their desires. As soon as I finished speaking, he couldn't wait to become an ancient god warrior. I then demonstrated the items I obtained from the ancient gods to him, and then took some time to bring him back to the main city. After arriving at the main city, as expected, the mission was activated. Eliminate the evil goblin shaman, Bloodveil. Mission reward, Agatha's golden spirit chest. At the team's base at that moment, Lin Xiaoyun, who was practicing boxing, was still worried about how the mission was going since I had been away for so long. At that moment, Pan Wei, eating potato chips, calmly walked over, but suddenly his antenna reacted strongly, causing Pan Wei to vomit. He sensed that there was a very dangerous person approaching. Even when we killed the goblin shaman in the cave last time, his reaction wasn't this intense. He felt that the thing was about to enter the base. Then, a person appeared outside the base. It turned out to be me, returning with Bloodveil, and Pan Wei's antenna pointed strongly in my direction. Lin Xiaoyun guessed that the person next to me was a dangerous individual. To show friendliness, I let Bloodveil go over and greet them. However, Bloodveil expressed that these two teammates were too weak. When Bloodveil approached, I shook my head towards Lin Xiaoyun and the others, signaling them not to act recklessly. At this point, Bloodveil introduced himself. I am a new member of the team. Lin Xiaoyun then introduced Pan Wei as our team leader. But when Bloodveil reached out to greet Pan Wei's antenna instantly had a strong reaction, and he directly vomited a rainbow onto Bloodveil. Seeing this, Lin Xiaoyun immediately apologized to Bloodveil, saying that Pan Wei must have eaten something bad. Then, I took Bloodveil to the bathhouse to take a shower. While Bloodveil was bathing, I explained to Lin Xiaoyun and the others what had happened. Bloodveil is very powerful, and we wouldn't be able to deal with him on our own. But since the ancient gods only issue tasks and don't personally intervene, it means that this is an opponent we are capable of handling. Suddenly, I came up with an idea. During the mission, let him fight against other bosses, depleting his strength, while we just relax on the sidelines. When he becomes weak enough, then we can take action. We still have a chance. When Lin Xiaoyun and the others heard this, they realized that we had a powerful free fighter. Bloodveil thought that these foolish humans were being manipulated without realizing it, but little did he know that he was the one being manipulated. Arriving in a valley, we encountered a group of cave goblins. To provoke Bloodveil into action, whenever we encountered goblins along the way, we would hold a meeting to discuss strategies, pretending to be weak. Finally, the moment came when Bloodveil couldn't resist anymore. Facing these weak cave goblins, he can easily defeat them with a few moves. He didn't want to waste any more time. Then, he walked straight towards the cave goblins. The cave goblins immediately charged at him upon seeing this, but Bloodveil effortlessly dodged their attacks, and he unleashed two cursed arrows towards the cave goblins. The cave goblins, who relied solely on brute force, were no match for Bloodveil. He easily disposed of these creatures before him. This was just as I predicted. Once we trigger the mission, whoever kills the goblins earns points, so we just need to stay behind and let Bloodveil be our free fighter. However, Bloodveil found it quite strange. Previously, he could absorb a significant amount of energy and improve his strength by killing these barbarians, but now, he could absorb very little. He killed dozens of them on the way, but his strength didn't increase much. On the other hand, Pan Wei obtained a purple flying item. Then, they encountered an elite-level cave goblin. Bloodveil thought he could finally take a break, but before they even started fighting, Pan Wei and Lin Xiaoyun ran back in retreat, and I used the excuse that little Chirp's sister shouldn't show up casually to hide, leaving Bloodveil alone to face the elite-level cave goblin. At this critical moment, Bloodveil should have revealed his trump card, right? Indeed. With a furious roar, Bloodveil activated his blood transformation, and his power visibly surged at an incredible speed. He caught the cave goblin's hammer with one hand, then he pulverized the goblin's hammer using a powerful punch. At this point, Bloodveil awakened the state of soul possession, converting his spiritual attribute into power attribute. With a single punch, he defeated the elite-level cave goblin. Along the way, Pan Wei and Lin Xiaoyun obtained many equipment items, but Bloodveil remained empty-handed. At this point, Bloodveil also started to have some doubts. After fighting for so many days, why haven't I become an ancient god warrior yet? You know, it took me a long time to gain the favor of the ancient god. What's the rush for you? You've been secretly slacking off during this time, absorbing the blood energy of those barbarians. How can you accumulate enough merit like that? I'm doing this to increase my strength and make better contributions. Bloodveil also understood that I was using him, and he didn't trust me either. So, he has been secretly enhancing his strength. Based on my experience, the more dangerous the mission, the greater the chance of ancient gods' approval. Listen to me. Bloodveil said that those goblins were too weak, and they didn't give him a chance to go all out. It seems I need to have Panwei find more dangerous bosses for him to challenge. Under Panwei's leadership, we arrived at a cave in the forest. He sensed a powerful aura coming from the cave, but it seemed someone had already beaten us to it. Bloodveil couldn't wait and said, "Anyone who hinders me from completing the mission will die." I told him not to be hasty, and we should go and see first. Arriving outside the cave, it was already occupied by Liu Keqi's team. No one was allowed to enter. Seeing this situation, Lin Xiaoyun intervened. "Leader, maybe we shouldn't forcefully intrude." At that moment, two individuals approached us. "Isn't this the guy who tried to deceive us for 400 points back then?" The people were Lei Zheng and Jin Qi. Seeing Lei Zheng provoking, Panwei immediately retorted, "Who deceived whom? It was you who couldn't recognize a good deal." Jin Qi intervened to defuse the situation, saying, "Well, through this incident, we also got to know each other. Our Liu King team arrived here first, and according to our detection, there are many powerful cave goblins inside. We're concerned about unnecessary losses for everyone, so we didn't allow friends from other teams to enter." Faced with this explanation, Panwei also expressed understanding, and decided not to forcefully intrude. We bid them farewell and left, but at this moment, I noticed that Bloodveil's expression was unusual. It seemed like he had sensed something inside the cave. I asked Panwei and Lin Xiaoyun to look around for any other trigger points. Meanwhile, I planned to have a separate conversation with Bloodveil. After separating from them, I asked Bloodveil if he had noticed something. Bloodveil wasn't willing to admit it. "Don't lie, it should be the thing we both know about inside." "Indeed, I can't deceive you. Your guess is correct. That mutated rock lizard should be in there." As expected, I managed to coax it out of him. I wonder if encountering the mutated rock lizard will trigger a mission. Back when we trained in the secrets of life magic together, we conducted various research by analyzing it. After we were driven away, the mutated rock lizard came under the control of those barbarians. Listening to him, it seems to be related to life magic. Bloodveil says that as long as we can snatch that rock lizard back, our knowledge of life magic will definitely advance further. But unfortunately, the passage is blocked by the two-legged creatures. How could these foolish two-legged creatures know the terrain as well as I do? Bloodveil led us through a secret passage, and sneakily entered the cave. We encountered no obstacles along the way and made it in smoothly. Suddenly, Panwei's hair stood on end. It seems that ahead is the location of that rock lizard. We squeezed through a crack in the wall, only to discover an unexpected hidden realm behind it. Not bad for a newcomer. You even knew about this secret passage. Seems like you understand the goblins' methods quite well. Faced with Panwei's sudden praise, Bloodveil said it was merely something observed during studying their behavior. However, after this question, Bloodveil became even more cautious about hiding his identity. I guess Bloodveil's mind is now full of thoughts on how to conceal his identity. And beneath the cave where we came out, there is a monster sealed by chains. That's the rock lizard Bloodveil mentioned. Moreover, there's a magic array set up by Bloodveil below, restricting that rock lizard. From the attribute panel, I learned that this is a monster with powerful life magic that can quickly heal its opponents. It seems like I've found a candidate for my second contracted magical beast. But after entering, Bloodveil hesitated. He said it would be difficult to take away this lizard. Even a slight disturbance of the magic array would alert the cave leader. Feeling that the risk was too great, he planned to retreat. But how could I let such a good opportunity slip away? I immediately opened the shop to see if there was any way to make Bloodveil stay. That's when I discovered a long-distance sound transmission item. It can simulate any sound heard before and transmit it to a designated person. I immediately decided to spend 50 points to buy it. Then, I used this item to simulate the voice of an ancient god and transmit a message to Bloodveil. Upon hearing the voice, Bloodveil hurriedly asked Lin Xiaoyun if she heard anything, but only he could hear the voice. "Bloodveil, this is your test from me. I am pleased with the previous tests. Now it's your final test." Upon hearing that it was truly the voice of an ancient god, Bloodveil became extremely excited, and I immediately announced the task for Bloodveil to free the mutated rock lizard. As expected, Bloodveil fell into my trap without surprise. He immediately expressed his intention to rescue the mutated rock lizard with everyone else. I signaled to Pan Panwei with my eyes, and Panwei immediately understood and went up to support Bloodveil. At this moment, the rock lizard sensed someone approaching. How rare it is to have humans appear in this cave, not as food. We told her that we came to rescue her, but she remained in a hostile state. It seems that the hatred from her torment cannot be offset even by my soft Rice King talent. Andura, we've come to free you from captivity. We received a mission from the ancient god to save you. Free me? Is this another new experiment, tempting me with freedom? To observe the impact of my emotional fluctuations on magical extraction? Although it's effective, once is enough. You must be the new experimental subjects developed by the cave goblins, right? Filthy manipulators of life's power. All of you, perish. After saying that, she ordered a group of cave goblins to attack us. The rock lizard summoned numerous cave goblins, who immediately charged towards us without hesitation. Upon seeing this, Panwei and Lin Xiaoyun moved forward to intercept. Bloodveil, witnessing Panwei and Lin Xiaoyun being so proactive, wondered if they had pretended to be weak before as a test for him. However, upon seeing that the two of them struggled to handle just one goblin, Bloodveil instructed me to deal with the rock lizard, while he took care of the cave goblins. With a confident stride, he charged out, once again using his curse arrows, causing the goblins to be struck one after another. The rock lizard felt a sense of familiarity upon seeing this spell, while the injured goblins immediately recovered under the rock lizard's healing magic. Do you think you can wear me down with the flame of life? I won't let you succeed. Then, Bloodveil increased the frequency of using curse arrows, easily knocking the cave goblins in front of him flying. This move is quite exhausting, but even with the healing support, they can't withstand such attacks. Finally, the rock lizard remembered why the skills in front of her were so familiar. The person in front of her was the one who had kidnapped and tormented her, the one who had brought her into this painful abyss. By this time, Bloodveil had already dealt with all the cave goblins in front of him, but the rock lizard's furious roar startled Bloodveil. Her lower body began to petrify, and energy fluctuations constantly emanated around her. Then, the previously defeated cave goblins came back to life. Even if I have to give up the freedom I desire most, I will tear you into 1,000 pieces. Bloodveil didn't expect the leader's skill of the rock lizard to be so powerful. Reviving the dead cave goblins, one of the goblins struck Bloodveil's protective shield with a hammer. Seeing that all the goblins' hatred was directed towards him, Bloodveil intended to use the opportunity to have me rescue the rock lizard. However, by that time, I had already used a multi-person teleportation scroll and left with Lin Xiaoyun and Panwei. Bloodveil, from the beginning, I wanted to use you. Now, this place is most suitable as your burial ground. Realizing that he had been used, Bloodveil became infuriated. But by the time he tried to stop me, I had already teleported away. Bloodveil, I remember that name. Today, you will die. Bloodveil's anger reached its peak, and a powerful surge of energy burst forth from within him. Unexpectedly, he still had an ace up his sleeve, unleashing his bloodthirsty power. Suddenly, he roared, "You all must die." We teleported to another cave, and, guided by Panwei's senses, secretly made our way back to the location of the rock lizard. We planned to take advantage of the weakened state of both Bloodveil and the rock lizard, to eliminate Bloodveil discreetly. But at that moment, another person secretly infiltrated the cave. It turned out to be Si Ruyang, using his earth tunneling ability to sneak in. He happened to spot us in the cave, noticing our hurried movements, so he quietly followed to find out what was going on. Meanwhile, Bloodveil was still entangled with the rock lizard, and to our surprise, this Bloodveil had hidden abilities, and could confront 3 cave goblins empowered by the rock lizard. Just then, another cave goblin appeared behind him. Upon seeing this, Bloodveil gritted his teeth and let out a furious cry. A powerful surge of energy burst forth from within him once again. Both Bloodveil and the rock lizard were injured. How do you possess such power? You have severed their connection with the magic circle, rendering my healing magic useless against them. How is this possible? The rock lizard's attributes were declining, growing weaker and weaker. Don't forget that I am also a shaman. If I hadn't been driven out of the tribe, I should have held the position of the great shaman. Magic is magic, and once you understand the principles, you can restrict its effects. Whether it's healing or enhancement, it has to be applied to the body. While I pierced through their bodies, I infused a portion of my life energy into theirs, creating a barrier of energy that hinders the connection of your magic. Although this almost depleted all my magic power, I can replenish it by draining you dry. You're going to die. I won't let you have your way. After all these years, you're still so disobedient. Before I drain you, how should I punish you? At that moment, the rock lizard clenched its fists, muttering some sort of incantation under its breath. But before Bloodveil could make a move, he suddenly felt his body out of control, and his vision began to fade. Eventually, he watched as the blood color gradually engulfed his field of vision, closing his eyes forever under my gaze. Andura, we arrived a little late. You've suffered, but it seems he still had concerns about me. He looked towards Panwei behind me, and Panwei was holding a flashlight, shining it at us. Quick, put it away. She seems to have noticed. It seems like it's too late now. Suddenly, the system panel displayed a prompt. Desecration of the Sanctuary of the Ancient Gods mission complete. Obtain Agatha's Golden Spirit Chest reward. Hope this chest contains a spirit potion. At this moment, the rock lizard said, I remember you, Bloodveil's filthy companion. I explained to her that I was not Bloodveil's companion, and told her the whole story of how everything started. Although she mostly believed what I said, the difficulty of the contract on her head remained challenging, and her status towards me remained hostile. It seems that even with the soft Rice King talent, there are still obstacles. This strategy is indeed quite challenging. Even if I save her life, she still remains hostile. I expressed to her that it's dangerous here, and suggested that we leave first. But as soon as I reached out to unlock her shackles, she immediately stopped me. Seeing me injured, Little Chirp was about to attack right away, but fortunately, I stopped her in time. I comforted Little Chirp, saying that she had been trapped in this cave for too long, and her action was just a reflex, not her fault. However, at that moment, she suddenly grabbed my hand and used a healing spell on me. I thought her gesture meant a change of heart, but the difficulty indicator above her head still showed difficult, and the system also hinted that it was just an act she was putting on. If it weren't for the system panel prompt, I would have almost been fooled, but it truly is miraculous. The wounds she healed in the palms of my hands show no trace of injury. Our rock lizard clan's healing magic is naturally this miraculous. Seeing her acting skills, it seems we're going to have a showdown of acting. Such surging life force. You've endured a lot over these years, haven't you? I didn't expect her to be completely unaffected. She just let go of my hand directly. Lin Xiaoyun on the cliff saw that I seemed to be facing a difficult situation, and Panwei also said he would come down to help me. At that moment, I heard Lin Xiaoyun say, Lin Hao, we've spent enough time here. For the sake of caution, it's better to leave quickly. I also agreed that we should leave as soon as possible. After all, this is the goblins' territory, and it would be troublesome if they came back. So, I said to the rock lizard, since Miss Endura can't believe our good intentions, then there's nothing we can do, Miss Endura. I can't let my companions be in danger. We'll take a step ahead. Seeing us about to leave, the rock lizard immediately couldn't hold back, and called out to stop us. What's the matter? Do you have something to say? You know, I didn't expect her to be shy, but I still wanted her to say it herself. Listen, since we're going the same way anyway, why don't I leave with you? Oh, I see. Then I had Little Chirp unlock all of her shackles. It seems there won't be an opportunity to make a contract with her in the short term, and it will be even more difficult if her weakened state recovers. We need to come up with a plan. Get ready to depart, Miss Endura. Looking at the throne in this magic circle, something feels wrong, but what I didn't know was that Si Ryang had been hiding under the throne using Earth Escape technique to observe. At this moment, Little Chirp raised her sickle and slashed towards the throne. Si Ryang thought he had been discovered and immediately curled up in fear. Then, Little Chirp split the throne into two, revealing it to be a simple decoration. I thought it might trigger some kind of quest. Hearing Panwei urging me to leave, I didn't have much doubt and left as well. In the silent goblin cave, Si Ryang slowly emerged from under the throne. Little Chirp's strike just narrowly missed Si Ryang, leaving him still in shock. Although I still don't understand what just happened, one thing I can be sure of is that he must be a dangerous guy. Just then, Liu Keqi's voice came through Si Ryang's earpiece. Si Ryang, what have you done? It's incredible. We just made a breakthrough at the goblin front in the cave that we've been struggling with. The goblins in the cave are retreating. Looks like they're in trouble. We'll take advantage of this and pursue them. Perhaps it was because I killed a group of cave goblins and disrupted some unknown magic circle. Si Ryang didn't expect that he would get lucky again this time. And at this moment, we had just left the cave with Rock Lizard. Rock Lizard, who had been trapped in the cave for a long time, hadn't seen sunlight for a while. Being touched by the warmth of the sun again, she couldn't help but shed tears. Her expression of grievance. If someone who didn't know her saw her like this, they might genuinely feel sympathy. But with my talent in the game of life, I can easily see through her acting. She played the role so convincingly. If I hadn't been prepared, I might have been swayed too. What does she really want? If it's just for freedom, she could have just followed us out. Why go through the trouble of acting? Her weakened state won't last forever. Once she recovers, she can leave directly, and we can't stop her anyway. And at this moment, because we destroyed the magic circle, Liu Keqi's people successfully stormed the goblin cave. Seeing so many people attacking the cave goblins, Rock Lizard curiously asked, "Are those also bipeds? Are they also entering the cave? Are you all together?" Seizing the opportunity, I lied to her, saying, "We are together, but we are not bipeds. You can call us ancient god warriors." To be able to save you, my teammates and I split into two groups. One part is attracting attention up front, while we take the opportunity to rescue you from the rear. Now you know our determination to save you, right? Listen to me till the end. Rock Lizard not only marveled at the meticulousness of our plan, no wonder she sensed an increase in the frequency of magic extraction from the magic circle before. It seems that the resurrection altar is operating in overload. Curiously, I asked her what the resurrection altar was, and she said, it's a device that consolidates all goblin lives within the cave. Whenever a goblin dies, its energy is absorbed by the altar and it resurrects. This device uses me as a conduit to continuously extract energy to supply the altar for its continuous operation. But now that there is no conduit, the altar cannot function. It seems like this is a benefit I've given to Lukeki, but after being used as a magical device for so many years, she should also have some understanding of traditional magic and life magic secrets, right? Since Bloodveil was able to research puppets and parasitic techniques from him, maybe she would too. If she wants to control us, then there's a reason for her to act like this. After rescuing Rock Lizard, as it was getting late, we had to camp outdoors. Pan Wei, who hadn't eaten anything for a day, kindly offered a satiety potion to Andura. Just by taking one satiety potion, a person won't feel hungry. I wondered if she would refuse to eat our food, but Andura took the satiety potion, examined it for a moment, and then swallowed it in one gulp. However, after just a second in her mouth, Andura instantly showed a troubled expression. Andura immediately spat it out. Are you trying to kill me? This is the worst thing I've ever tasted. Don't you have a sense of taste? I never expected Andura to have such a strong aversion to the potion. Could it be that these edible items from the ancient god are ineffective for monster girls? Poisoning her might not work either. At this moment, seeing Little Chirp, I suddenly remembered something I had discovered when I was eating grass before. I greeted them and then rode on the Nimbus cloud to find food for Andura. Take care, big brother. Don't worry, Lin Hao said there's something delicious, so it must be really good. As I left, Andura had a meaningful expression on her face. Together with Little Chirp, we relied on our previous memory to go back to the place where I had eaten grass before, because it was there that Little Chirp had eaten a peculiar plant. After eating it, Little Chirp fell into a state of weakness. Through the panel, I noticed that Little Chirp's spiritual power had decreased significantly, but her other attributes remained unchanged. It took several days for Little Chirp to recover from that state. Every time she sees this kind of food, Little Chirp can't help but want to eat it. It seems that this plant has a strong attraction for monster girls. The main point is that this plant can suppress the spirits of monster girls, which can restrain Little Chirp. It should also be able to restrain Andura, with a mindset of giving it a try. As long as it works, the possibility of making a contract with Andura will increase. Just at that moment, Little Chirp pointed to the nearby bushes, as if she had found that plant. I searched through the bushes, and indeed found quite a few of them. I never expected there to be so many here. I immediately started collecting them, but when I turned around, I noticed that Little Chirp had taken the opportunity to eat some of these plants again, without me noticing. I immediately stopped her, saying, Little Chirp, you shouldn't eat these. Even though they don't have a significant impact on you, it's still not good. After trying to persuade her for a while, Little Chirp agreed not to eat them anymore. After collecting for a while, I should have enough. Since we're out, let's go back to the city and open a treasure chest. Back at the base, I opened the spirit chest and indeed obtained a bottle of spirit potion. Now I can level up to level 2 in one go. After drinking the spirit potion, I smoothly maxed out my spirit attribute. Then I went to the potion area and bought a breakthrough potion and drank it. Finally, my level also reached level 2. Compared to the previous small improvements, this time I clearly felt that my mental vision became much clearer in an instant. With the bonuses from items and the base, my spiritual power attribute had reached 24. At this moment, the system suddenly unlocked a new skill for me, a passive skill called Monster Breeding Guidance. This skill prompts me on how to cultivate the monsters I have, avoiding wasting resources. Little Chirp's upgrade method is absorbing ancient spider relics. What exactly are these spider relics? Previously, when Little Chirp ate the Goblin Shaman's ornament, the panel also provided a similar hint. It seems like a direction for further consideration. But for now, the most important thing is to upgrade the contract magic for that Andura. After upgrading the contract magic from level 0, I bought a level 2 spirit training technique. It's about time to go back. Andura, who had been waiting for a long time, seemed to have started missing me. At this point, Lin Xiaoyun was very curious and asked Andura what she had been eating before. Andura replied, a long time ago, I used to eat fruits from the forest, but after being captured, they made me eat raw meat to survive. I had no choice but to eat it. It's truly shameful. I wonder when I'll be able to eat something that brings me joy again. Just then, I returned to the campsite. I took out all the plants I had collected, seeing Andura devouring them eagerly. It seems she's just like Little Chirp, Panway curiously wanted to take one and taste if they really are that delicious. Endura immediately stopped him. The contract difficulty displayed on the top of her head also changed from difficult to normal. But even so, the status on the panel still showed hostile. It seems that as long as I can change her attitude from hostile to neutral, there will be a chance to form a contract with her. The pretending to be cold, healing me, shedding tears for freedom, exposing the weakness of being a foodie. Each step was taken to make us let our guard down. Now Panway and Lin Xiaoyun have completely gained trust in her. So, it should be my turn next. I saw her stretch lazily, indicating that she was tired and wanted to sleep. Then we took turns sleeping and keeping watch. And I have been observing every move of Endura, observing her reactions while she sleeps. It's possible that she has developed post-traumatic stress disorder after suffering torment in the cave for so long. It's quite normal, but I'm not someone who sympathizes easily with pitiful people. I could hear her continuously muttering in her sleep, saying, "She's coming, she's coming." Her body began to convulse, followed by a loud scream that startled both Panway and Lin Xiaoyun. She's having a nightmare. Seems like some very unpleasant memories. She's really good at acting. To be able to act like this even when her spirit is suppressed, truly worthy of being a level 2 monster girl. Helping others overcome their inner demons brings the hearts of both parties closer, leading to letting down one's guard. This is the opportunity that Endura wants. But human hearts are always mutual. In order to get close to our hearts, even Endura has to temporarily let go of her hostility towards us. And that's when I'll make my move. Immediately, I called Lin Xiaoyun and Panway to discuss how to reduce her contract difficulty, so that I can increase my chances of successfully contracting with her. After a while, Endura woke up in a dazed state, and suddenly realized that everyone was gone. Where are they? Why is everyone gone? After daybreak, Endura discovered that we were all gone. To abandon a lady in a place like this, humans really can't be relied upon. Luckily, I didn't have any expectations of them either. Endura thought that her acting had been discovered, but she also felt that her performance was so natural, it shouldn't have been detected. But at that moment, a scene before her eyes shocked her greatly. Panway was lying on the ground, surrounded by pools of blood. What could this possibly be? Could this wound be? Just then, I appeared with numerous injuries. And you guessed it right, that guy didn't die. He came here to seek revenge against us. Bloodveil first ambushed Panway. Little Yun was taken away by Bloodveil. It's unlikely to end well. Even my little chirp sister, Endura, couldn't believe what I was saying. She had clearly checked in the cave before, and Bloodveil had long lost his vitality. How could this be possible? But the immediate appearance of Bloodveil immediately dispelled her doubts. The fear that had been inflicted upon her before instantly flooded her mind. Weren't you already dead in the cave? Why would you appear here? Endura couldn't believe that the Bloodveil before her eyes was real, but he did emit the aura of Bloodveil. At that moment, I glanced at Endura's panel notification. She was truly terrified by the Bloodveil in front of her. Of course, if I didn't frighten her, then my act would be in vain. The Bloodveil before her eyes was actually Lin Xiaoyun disguised as him after taking the substitute medicine. I deliberately rushed forward to intervene at this moment, pretending to be unable to defeat him and being kicked away by Bloodveil. Endura was completely shocked by this scene. I immediately called out to Endura, "Endura, run quickly. Run? None of you can escape today." Endura hesitated for a moment, then turned and ran without looking back. "Well, you made me run anyway. Besides, there's no point in staying here, right?" Endura lacks loyalty. Watching Endura run away, Panway also wiped off his disguise. We need to make the performance more realistic now. At this point, Endura had already fled into the forest and hidden. I pretended to be thrown in by Bloodveil, barely clinging to life, while Lin Xiaoyun pretended to search nearby. Strange. Did she disappear? Endura ran fast, but she's still weak. She can't go far. Endura covered her mouth, not daring to make a sound. And at that moment, I lay dying before her eyes, and her gaze was filled with fear. I noticed that the difficulty of the contract above her head had dropped to easy, and the status on the panel had changed from hostile to neutral. It seems like the right time now. I feel so cold. Can I hold your hand before I die, Miss Endura? I reached out my hand to her, and as long as she touched it, the contract would be triggered. Without any surprises, she also reached out her hand to me. In the instant our hands touched, the mark on the back of my hand lit up. The contract was activated. Suddenly, a golden light burst forth. What is this? Endura hasn't fully realized what has happened yet. At this moment, Lin Xiaoyun and Panway stepped forward. They curiously asked if I had succeeded in the contract. I didn't expect it to be so easy to succeed in the contract. But we still need to find an excuse to deceive Endura. What are you still chatting about? One of you plays dead. One pretends to be Bloodveil. One tricks me into contracting. You're all liars. I want to be free. I don't want to be a contract beast. After Endura scolded us, she immediately turned and ran. A mere human trying to command me? I'm not some delicate little girl. But before Endura could run far, she was immediately teleported back by the magic circle. Endura, I haven't finished speaking yet. Once a contract magic is established, the contracted monster cannot be too far away from the contractor, so it's impossible for you to escape. Upon hearing this, Endura became furious and embarrassed. She immediately launched an attack towards me, but her attacks had no effect on me. Endura, even though I don't know how we successfully contracted, once the contract is established, the contractor cannot harm me. Upon hearing this, Endura collapsed in despair. At this moment, I pretended to ask her if she had tried to use some kind of mental magic to control me. Endura, who was caught off guard, looked nervous and hastily denied it. At that moment, Panway suddenly spoke up. I see. It must be that Miss Endura wanted to use mind control on our big brother, but our big brother's advanced contract magic caused his magic to counterattack automatically, resulting in Miss Endura being contracted instead. Well done, Panway. I didn't even need to speak, and he helped me cover it up. Endura also regretted it, saying she should have just run away without thinking. Judging by your reaction, it seems like I was right. My instincts are always accurate. Being exposed, Endura started acting again, crying. She said she was just a kind and pitiful lizard. Why did she encounter such cruel things? But Lin Xiaoyun and Pan Wei were no longer buying it. I wonder who just ran away without looking back. Whether you like it or not, we have already formed a contract, and that cannot be changed. You were the one who schemed against me first, so don't blame me. Undeterred, Endura kept trying to break the contract magic, but the contract magic of the ancient god and the magic used in this world are clearly not the same. How could Endura compete with the ancient god? After a whole night passed, Endura finally gave up resistance and approached me for negotiations, asking how she could terminate the contract. I've had enough of being enslaved. What do you want? I will give you anything I can as long as you give me my freedom back. Well, since you put it that way, freedom is possible. Is that so? What are your conditions? I need a powerful monster to assist me. As long as I find the next monster that suits me better and learn how to terminate the contract. Until then, you will serve me. Although Endura was reluctant, she had no other choice, so she reluctantly agreed to assist me until we found the next monster. Meanwhile, deep in the cave where the goblins were, Liu King's team successfully conquered the cave goblins. Liu Keki had planned to return to the base camp to rest, but at that moment, the ancient god issued a new mission: conquer the Goblin Kingdom. According to the ancient god's introduction, this mission was the real challenge. Mission objective: enter the Goblin Empire and familiarize oneself with it. All team members also received this mission trigger. It seems that anyone who participated in the Cave Goblin mission triggered this mission. The ancient god began to distribute rewards for the Cave Goblin mission. As expected, Liu Keki's team ranked first, but the second place Furuai team caught Liu Keki's attention. He had previously investigated the competing teams, but hadn't paid attention to this team. However, he didn't pay much attention to it. Everyone, once again, our team, Liu King, has achieved the highest score and the best rewards. Below, the teammates immediately agreed. That's right, we are the strongest, so we must continue to work hard and seize the initiative in the upcoming Goblin Empire mission. Team captains, take the fastest members and split up to investigate the location of the Goblin Kingdom. The rest of us will split into two groups. One group will advance beyond mountain to establish a new base camp, and the other group will return to the main city to exchange items and replenish supplies. After the team captains find the Goblin Kingdom, we will launch a full-scale attack to complete the next phase of the mission. Meanwhile, after settling the ancient god's mission, we received 1,500 points and a golden treasure chest. Pan Wei complained that the ancient god was stingy and gave too few points. But after all, our team only has 3 people, so we can't compare to big teams like Liu Keki's. But with fewer people, each person gets more points. Then we prepared to open the golden treasure chest and see what items we could get. A burst of golden light appeared, revealing a golden epic attribute item. It was a hypnosis type item that can control the opponent for 1 minute upon successful hypnosis. However, the success rate depends on the mental gap between the two parties, and it can be used 10 times. Pan Wei and Lin Xiaoyan thought this item was mediocre, because once the hypnosis is attacked, the target wakes up, and it can only hypnotize for 1 minute. But I don't think so. After all, it's an ancient god's reward. We just haven't found a suitable use for it yet. But now is not the time to study it. The upcoming new mission is more important. This mission doesn't mention any rewards, so entering the Goblin Kingdom should only be the beginning. The real big rewards will come with the subsequent activation tasks. However, Lin Xiaoyun also said that even though we have fewer people, we move faster. But Liu Keki's team has more people, so they are likely to find the Goblin Kingdom faster than us. At this moment, Pan Wei reminded us That as a native inhabitant, Andura should know the exact location of the Goblin Kingdom, right? I also reminded Andura, that is a contracted being, she can't lie to the contractor. With Andura's guidance, we quickly found the Goblin Kingdom. Unexpectedly, the Goblin Kingdom was much larger than we had imagined. At that moment, a new task was activated by the system. The first person to enter the Goblin Kingdom would receive a reward of 100 points. Thanks to Andura, we were the first to find the Goblin Kingdom. After finding the Goblin Empire, the sky had already darkened. We planned to rest and survey the surroundings. However, at that moment, I suddenly remembered something, and asked Little Chirp to bring Andura out. Surprisingly, Andura was fast asleep. Hey, Andura, wake up quickly for me. Little Chirp, I need to ask Andura some questions. Can you protect Panway and the others for me? Seeing that I was taking Andura alone, Little Chirp became a bit jealous. Why would I favor Andura? Little Chirp, you have always been my most trusted partner. Why wouldn't I like you, Little Chirp? After listening to me, Little Chirp instantly felt better. I greeted Little Chirp and took Andura aside. What's the matter? Didn't I already bring you to the Goblin Kingdom? At that moment, I suddenly turned around and pressed Andura against a tree. This action startled Andura, making her at a loss for what to do. Speak up. What's the spell you've been hiding? How do you know? After all, you wanted to enslave us. It seemed difficult to accomplish, but you were so confident. You must have a trump card, right? Since we have decided to cooperate, shouldn't we be open and honest with each other? Andura conjured a green flame in her hand. Humans are indeed cunning. It seems that the method of planting the seed of life to gain your trust has never worked from the beginning. This spell is the result of my research on life magic based on the blood veil. Only those who I completely trust can successfully perform the spell. Then I can control their words and actions, making them my puppets. But this condition is too harsh. At first, I wanted to play the victim to gain your trust, but who knew it would turn out like this? Listening to it, although this condition is a bit harsh, if successful, it would be very powerful. As long as there is trust in the use of the hypnotic incense, that 1 minute, the casting condition can be fully met. But since I have figured out all of her tricks, she has become even more wary of me. But making her fear me is also a good way to use her power. I thought I could rely on Soft Rice King to be effective, but now it seems that Soft Rice King won't work. I have to become a scum man. After surveying for these few days, I found that the Goblin Empire is heavily guarded. Even the walls are built like fortresses. The aerial guards are also formidable, with a strong defense. Such impressive defenses leave no opportunity for us to take advantage of. After observing for a while, the patrol guards hardly have any gaps in their patrols. It seems that entering from above is also impossible. Moreover, the attributes of the patrol guards are quite formidable, although their individual abilities seem average. A group of them together would be troublesome. Seeing Pan Wei and Lin Xiaoyun returning with worried expressions, it seems like everyone had similar results. I investigated 2 city gates, and the guards were very alert. There was no chance to take advantage of the situation. Moreover, among the races coming in and out, I didn't see any race other than goblins. My findings were similar to Little Yun's. I even explored the surrounding walls, but I don't know what construction technique they used. They are incredibly solid, with no possibility of entry. If it was just entering, it wouldn't be a difficult problem. We could use substitute pills to bluff our way through. But the problem is I only have 1 pill left. Only one of us can go in. After discussing with Lin Xiaoyun and the others, we finally decided that I would consume the last substitute pill and infiltrate the Goblin Kingdom. At the entrance to the Goblin Kingdom, there was a sea of people, each holding something and queuing to enter. This time, I chose to transform into the appearance of a cave scout goblin to enter. Unexpectedly, I easily blended in. At this moment, the system panel also displayed a prompt. Mission completed. Reward, 150 points. You are the first ancient god warrior to enter the Goblin Kingdom. Extra reward, 50 points. Suddenly, the villagers inside the kingdom became excited, muttering that the prince and the high priest were on a tour, and they must grab a good spot. Who are the prince and the high priest? At that moment, a guard pushed the crowded villagers back, revealing a goblin covered in armor from head to toe. His spiritual power reached an astonishing 31 points. The system panel indicated that he was a temple magic selected priest guard, possessing supportive magic. On the other side was a goblin wielding a giant axe, with a strength of 30. The system indicated that he was the prince's personal guard, and there was animosity between him and the priest goblin. Suddenly, the goblin guards on both sides blew their horns simultaneously, shouting the titles of their respective leaders. 2 large sedan chairs slowly approached from the middle of the road, pulled by muscular goblins. However, the curtains of the sedan chairs blocked the view of the goblins inside, preventing me from using the information panel to detect them. But it seems that the internal affairs of this Goblin Kingdom are not very harmonious either. At this moment, the ancient god system popped up another system prompt. Become the Blade of Goblin Destruction. After completing the mission, rewards will be distributed based on the value of the caused turmoil. Then, suddenly, I felt a pair of eyes staring at me intently. The feeling of being watched sent chills down my spine. Could it be that I've been discovered? That momentary gaze was definitely not that simple. My substitute pill can deceive opponents below level 5. Could it be that this high priest's strength is already close to level 5? Just as I was about to leave here and reconsider, I was suddenly stopped by a goblin soldier blocking my path. He looked at me with disdain on his face, and threw me out, saying, "What kind of country bumpkin dares to come and witness the glory of the two highnesses? Cave goblins should stay in their caves." Little Chirp watched me being humiliated, and couldn't help herself, but I immediately reassured Little Chirp. After all, this is someone else's territory. It's better not to act impulsively. However, after we came out, Little Chirp was dissatisfied with Endura's actions of stopping her earlier. She raised her sickle and swung it at Endura. Endura kept dodging under the sickle, while continuously mocking Little Chirp. Endura's mockery fueled Little Chirp's hatred to the maximum. Without hesitation, Little Chirp unleashed her ultimate move. Oh, Little Chirp is really angry now, but facing Little Chirp's attack, Endura remained calm. He arrogantly taunted, "With your little sickle, what can you do even if you attack?" She waved her hand, and a magic circle appeared beneath her feet. Activating her leader skill, Wisdom of the Earth Goddess. Barehanded, he managed to block Little Chirp's sickle, but before Little Chirp could feel happy, her wounds were instantly healed. Little Chirp, witnessing this scene, was shocked. The triumphant Endura taunted again, "Just average. If you don't use your leader skill, the speed at which you inflict damage on me won't even match my recovery speed." As soon as those words were spoken, Little Chirp's brain was engulfed by anger, and she immediately lost her rationality. She directly unleashed her leader skill, slashing towards Endura. Seeing this situation, I immediately realized things were not going well. Even Endura might not emerge unscathed from this skill. I immediately activated the power of the contract, and hurriedly made Little Chirp stop her actions. "Little Chirp, my sister, you can't use the leader skill on your comrades. Both you and Endura are my partners, and I would feel heartbroken if either of you got hurt. Endura has a bad temper and is petty. Don't bother with immature monster girls like her. Hey, if you're going to badmouth me, can you do it from a distance? I can hear you." However, after the battle between Little Chirp and Endura, I realized that Little Chirp's current abilities were lacking. She can barely cope with the monsters ahead, but the goblin soldiers in the Goblin Kingdom are at the 3rd level, and she'll have a hard time dealing with them. I remember the previous system prompt that the spider relic is a necessary condition for Little Chirp's upgrade. The monster breeding guidance also mentioned multiple promotion routes for Little Chirp. Little Chirp's main focus is on agility and strength, and normally, she can only choose one attribute for further improvement. However, I discovered another evolutionary route called the Power of Faith. To upgrade this Power of Faith, it requires collecting faith and condensing it into the spider relic for breakthrough. Curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked on the method to gather the Power of Faith. It turns out that the Power of Faith needs to be materialized through a magic circle, and then transferred into Little Chirp through a medium. Among us, Endura is the only one who knows magic. Now there are many things that need to be done in the Goblin King City, and Little Chirp's upgrade can no longer be delayed. As for this Power of Faith, I do have a method. If it succeeds, Little Chirp's upgrade will no longer be a problem, and we might even be able to bring Pan Wei and Lin Xiaoyun into the Goblin Kingdom. I explained this idea to them. In the Goblin Kingdom, there are 2 factions, royalty and theocracy, and these 2 factions are at odds with each other. However, we can enter the game as a 3rd sect. If they are united internally, it would be difficult for us to intervene, but since they are wary of each other, we have room to maneuver. After much consideration, I finally decided to manifest it externally as the belief of Little Chirp. The true core of the sect revolves around Endura.